this America? Yes, it is. This is America.
This is America.
Welcome back. Lost in Seattle, episode 28.
Almost at 30.
Been a very exciting week. This Negro decided to venture off into the damn clubhouse. What the fuck was you doing on the clubhouse?
I didn't go in there to talk or nothing, but I definitely went in there to see what's going on because I had somebody in the comments told us to go. I remember Sienna, I think how you say the name. It was like, go check on Clubhouse.
You found some stuff on there too, didn't you?
I saw some questions that I found funny that they were been asked on that platform that we're going to go into a little bit, quote unquote, a lot in this this pod here. We're going to start off on I don't know if I could say this is a sad note. I think I kind of indifferent. Would you feel the same?
I mean, he is a black man. Well, we're going to talk about, is he a black man?
We're going to see who, that'll be one of the questions.
But yeah, they're definitely boule for sure.
Yeah. Like, look at this. Colin Powell, first black U.S.
First
Secretary of
Jamaican
State. Yeah, he's
U.S.
Jamaican and Irish, I believe. I think they said he is. Dies of COVID-19 complications amid cancer battle. So two things come from this. Number one, first black Secretary of State. Do you know he also is kind of surrounded by a lot of controversy in his career? Obviously, he was the person who took the bullet really and lined us into the Iraq War, the weapons of mass destruction. He took the bullet for Bush.
Somebody gonna get into that too.
If it wasn't for that situation, it is pretty much understood by anybody that's even a little bit into politics. Most people, there's a lot of people that were not into politics until 2016 because it was just forced down your throat and you had to start paying attention.
I think more people got involved into politics when Barack Obama.
You think so?
Yeah.
You say around 2012 maybe 2008 or 2012.
2008, I think it started a little bit more for
it definitely was a
black people.
But I think it was even bigger.
Black men in particular.
Yeah, I think it was even bigger of a bomb in 2016 though, because they forced you to care about it and stuff.
Because you had Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump,
and it was like, oh, you had Hillary Clinton,
you had
super
evil
predator. Yeah, and then you had Donald Trump, the one
you had evil versus
evil 2,
and he was inexperienced
allegedly.
Yeah,
like she allegedly. But anyway, Colin Powell, if he wouldn't have took that bullet for Bush to lie us into that war, it's understood by a lot of people he would have been the first quote unquote black president.
But he wasn't chosen. They wanted Barack Obama to do that.
I think Barack Obama was chosen because of his fall. Honestly, he was the diamond. He was the star. He was a general. He was a colonel or whatever it is, and he was the which would make more sense for him to be the first black president with all him. He was all that experience. He went through the system. He was in the military, but he took the bullet for Bush. Like he is. What they call him? He's the ultimate patriot. He sacrificed his career to lie into a war, to be a war criminal, because that's what his president wanted him to do.
Yep.
So he was a patriot, quote unquote. But the second thing that comes from this, obviously, is he died from COVID, even though he was fully vaccinated.
Yep.
We can't
go into, just know that he was fully vaccinated and he died from COVID-19 complications.
Yeah.
Complications, sorry.
Yeah, I want to show y'all what Donald Trump had to say about Colin Powell. You see here, he says, statement by Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. Wonderful to see Colin Powell, who made big mistakes on Iraq and famously so-called weapons of mass destruction, be treated in death so beautifully by the fake news media. Hope that happens to me someday. He was a classic rhino. If even that, always being the first to attack other Republicans, he made plenty of mistakes. But anyway, may he rest in peace.
Listen,
Trump is a complete asshole, yo.
Ain't this something that a black person would say?
I didn't want to say it.
This is something that a black person would say after somebody has died.
He wasn't perfect.
He wasn't perfect, but yeah.
Yeah, so he died of COVID even though he was fully vaccinated. And they made sure to point out, well, he had cancer as well. I agree. His immune system was already very,
his immune system was
pretty
low.
much shot. So then you started seeing stuff like this pop out. Only very old and sick die of COVID if vaccinated, Italian study shows.
That's where it all began.
Now, this came out October. This is yesterday.
But you remember when that whole big Italy thing was going on over there and it was so bad?
Yeah. So now they saying, oh, only old and sick. But this don't make sense because I have to ask the question. Didn't they say the first to get vaccinated should be old people?
Yep.
So if you fully vaccinate an old person, yet they're the only ones that die, according to the study, if you fully vaccinate an old person, yet they're the only ones that die, I mean, I don't want to say it, but
there's an older lady where I work at. She was talking to me in the dining room. She was like, well, Travis, I think I'm going to go ahead and get the shot. I made the appointment. She said, my husband told me to. I said, your husband told you to? She said, yeah, my husband's been dead for 15 years. She said he came to her in a dream and told her to get the vaccine. And I said,
that's her
I don't think there was
her scared.
I don't think there was your husband that came to you.
Yeah, your spirits don't visit, your family don't visit you.
I think he on the other side saying, don't take the vax.
That was somebody else telling you to take the damn vax. You see here, in the article, it said people vaccinated against COVID-19 are highly unlikely to die of the disease unless very old and already badly ill before getting it. A study in Italy showed on Wednesday. Now, you remember, what's his name? Hank Aaron. This is alleged. Allegedly, he was vaccinated. It's alleged, once again, that what's her name? The actor, female actor, legendary actor, Jesus Christ, I can't remember her name.
She black?
Yeah. Who else is gonna be? Of course it's a black woman. She was in Tyler Perry movie as the grandma.
Cicely Tyson?
Cicely Tyson. Allegedly, she was as well. But the only name you keep hearing about when it comes to the death of, because they say their deaths were, we don't know, undisclosed. It's alleged also. I ain't gonna say no more. I'm leaving it alone.
Yeah, leave it alone.
But
today is Friday.
They're saying only old people, yet they told us old people are the ones who need to take it. So I'm not understanding.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of, I can't even finish the sentence right.
Don't finish it.
Y'all get the point. All right, another article that came. This is CNN. This was October 19th. Why vaccinated people dying of COVID-19 doesn't mean the vaccines are ineffective. What?
Can you read that again?
Why vaccinated people dying of COVID-19 doesn't mean the vaccines are ineffective.
Well, it definitely means that the vaccine is not.
We can't say. You can't finish the sentence.
You know what the word I was gonna say.
Former U.S. Go ahead.
Which probably means that you need to do more testing and
almost like that's what's necessary.
Research, but it's almost like we are the ones they're testing it on. We the guinea pigs.
Mm-hmm. Former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell died on Monday of COVID-19 complications. His family announced he was fully vaccinated. He was 84 years old and had multiple. He had cancer, basically. So I'm gonna show you what, I'm gonna show you what this woman had to say. See what she used this as a way of making a point.
Multiple myeloma, Parkinson's. He obviously was immunocompromised. Also, he got the Pfizer vaccine. We now know he was doubly vaccinated. He got his second shot in February. And it's so sad to hear that he was scheduled for his booster shot this week when he got ill and had to go to the hospital. But given how complicated we now know his medical history was, would the booster shot have saved his life for somebody with that profile?
Well, it might have helped, but let's take a step back and look at his risk factors. So the first,
they're using his death as a way to promote the booster shots.
Kind of. I think they're actually using this to try and cover. Okay. Like, yeah, he died. He was fully vaccinated, but he had.
If he would have took the booster, it might have would have given him a little bit more.
Well, yeah, you're right. They are kind of selling the.
They're kind of selling the booster off of his death.
Yeah, but they're also trying to cover for themselves, saying, it happens. He was really sick.
is that he is already medically fragile, meaning because of age being 84, and also we know that risk is additive, and so having Parkinson's, having multiple myeloma, having chronic medical conditions means that for somebody else they could have had a mild breakthrough infection, but for somebody who is medically vulnerable, that could have led to a much more severe outcome. The other thing is multiple myeloma itself, a blood cancer, results in people potentially not mounting the same type of immune response as somebody who is otherwise healthy. And so there was a study published in July that found that patients with multiple myeloma, about 45% of them, only 45% of them, will mount an adequate immune response after vaccination. And
So is she making the point that people that have cancer shouldn't get vaccinated?
Almost like she's saying it's not gonna take it's not gonna do no good for you to get it because
she emphasized the word only 45% will actually build up enough immune. So she didn't say 40% and try to sell the 45, like almost 45%, almost half of the people might actually build. She's trying to say only, like it's not really going to work out for you.
So that would tie into renal failure.
Yeah.
Anybody that's on any type of.
So she's used that particular history cancer, but it would kind of leak into the other things, right? So that kind of goes past age. You could be 35 and have those problems, right?
Pretty much.
I don't know.
So that's why this is the group that is extremely vulnerable. They're recommended to get a booster shot, but even with a booster, they may still not have as much protection in order to prevent from severe outcomes. And this ultimately is the reason why we all have to be vaccinated, because this is really about.
Wait, what? You just said it don't work for a particular population, then said we all need it.
All of us. Yes, the vaccine does protect you, but it protects you even better if everybody around you is vaccinated. And we get vaccinated as healthy people in part to protect the most vulnerable among us.
So, okay, she tried to slyly say he got COVID because of somebody else.
Yeah.
That they in the Senate. She tried to pawn it off on, oh, well, he got it because everybody else is not. Somebody around him is vaccinated.
Blaming the unvaccinated.
But he is
vaccinated.
So it shouldn't really matter, should it?
You would think so.
Yeah, we know. As you see here, this is what it is. Only old and sick die of COVID. Yeah, that kind of iffy. It's kind of iffy. But another story that came out recently, since we're on this topic right now, is this right here. NIH admits U.S. funded gain of function in Wuhan despite Fauci's denials.
We did a video on this, like a month ago?
A while ago. So basically, in this article, they admit
finally
that they did do, but it's with a caveat though. They said, yeah, we did research, and it inadvertently led to this gain of function. We didn't purposely. It wasn't gain of function research. We were doing something else. And accidentally, inadvertently, we didn't mean to. It led to gain of function, and they didn't record the records. They didn't give us the records fast enough for the information. We weren't informed. Basically.
And they expect for us to believe that.
This is right after the NIH person stepped down 2 weeks ago. So now we get this information. So they're trying to say, "Oh, it was accidental." Oops.
They always find some type of way.
Oops. That's basically what they're saying. We didn't mean to.
They got loopholes and everything.
Easily. So I'm wondering, did this get Fauci out of the I lied realm into the I didn't know realm? I think he's in the I didn't know realm, even though we know he did. But now he can say I didn't know.
Yeah, that's what he gonna say. He's not going nowhere. He's not going anywhere.
All right, let's go to the next one. In secret vaccine contracts with the governments, Pfizer took hard line to push for profit, report says. Now, in this report, we talked about this a while ago as well, how Pfizer was asking people to put their damn country up almost as collateral. So that
who did that? They told it was Brazil,
and Colombia and stuff.
Colombia.
Asking for military compounds and stuff. But it's crazy. So in the same article, they also talk about how a lot of these companies, they hide the contracts. It's not public. They said they do this, it's a commercial contract. You're not supposed to show that publicly. But some countries, because it's private, they getting their orders for vaccines are coming in slowly because nobody knows about the contract. No one knows they're supposed to have vaccines coming, but it's in the contract, so they can slowly just give it to you. And if you come out public and be like, "Hey, whatever company it is, you owe me," now you're breaching the contract because it's supposed to be confidential. And one of the countries that's having to deal with that right now is Nigeria. Nigeria waits supply of 30 million COVID vaccines that it purchased.
And when you go to Nigeria and you look up the numbers,
oh yeah, you look this up, yeah.
You would say, why are they even getting?
I think they have, how many people they have? 211 million people in Nigeria, which I was like, that's 211.
And then they have.
Go ahead.
They have
11 million people.
Yeah, and then they have 200,000.
Yeah, 200,000 people have COVID.
Had COVID cases.
Yeah,
and only 2,850 of them actually
passed away. So out of 211 million, 200,000 have COVID cases. Now that 200,000, only 2,000, 3,000. We'll round it up. 3,000 passed away because of COVID.
You had people in the comment sections. They were like, "This is the people in Nigeria saying we don't even know why we're getting vaccines because
none of us even getting it really.
None of us is even really getting it."
That's according to data and statistics. Now we didn't make that up. You can look that up with your own 2 eyes.
We can pull it up. We can pull it up right here. You can go to
Google.
Nigeria COVID cases. You can look at the data is everywhere for any country. That's all you have to do.
Nigeria
COVID
cases.
And it's gonna pop up.
Yeah. So just so you know.
Yep.
Protect our ass now. You see here? They have 210,000 cases, 2,800 deaths out of 211 million people.
Wow.
So I'm just saying.
And look at the deaths total worldwide.
242 million. Out of how many billion?
No, deaths.
No, I'm talking about cases.
Oh.
200 million out of a couple billion. So 4 million people out of
5 million. We will round it and say 5 million people.
Out of how many billion people?
We don't.
7 billion?
It's too much. Clearly they trying to thin out the hood.
They're acting like it's 20 billion, boy. That's just too many.
You know how many empty spaces there is in the world?
Yeah, get on the plane, look down and see what you see. You're gonna see nothing.
You would think the way these elitists are acting, it's like roaches. Everybody just packed on top of one another. No, there's so many empty areas in the world. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but see, that's part of a whole plan. If I tell you that there's not enough supplies, not enough land, not enough this, then people will be more selfish.
But that's why you have to research.
Yeah, people think it's only crumbs left. They'll fight for those crumbs. But then when we talk about Nigeria, speaking of black people, we go into a little bit of politics side of this. We talked about Powell and how he died of COVID. We just spoke about that. Now we're gonna get to the other side when it said first Black Secretary of State. So as I said, I was on Clubhouse and I saw a room. I think it was some people from all over the diaspora was in there, and they had a question of, are Black Americans the only Black people? And when I first heard that question, you go, okay, well, what do you mean by that? We had this debate long ago on one of these podcasts. Is Black a race, ethnicity, or nationality?
And
you said all three for Black Americans. Yes. I said, well, if it's Black is Black, then everybody Black then. And you just
that's why we can't put you on a panel with reparations because we would have issues with you.
I was saying the word Black. So that
I don't trust you.
That was my opinion then. But we'll go further into that now. Is Colin Powell, will he be considered Black? I think he would, even though I think he said he's Jamaican and I think Irish descent. I don't know if the Irish is real, but I would imagine it is, just looking at him.
I would classify him as Jamaican and Irish.
But he grew up in America. His parents came here pre 1960s. They came here well before that.
He's still Jamaican.
But he grew up in the culture though. Well, we'll get to that side of it. So we'll start off with this here. Booker defends Biden's black agenda, urges black voters to show up in 2022 midterms.
But why you?
And I think this is going to tie into something we're going to talk about
Yeah.
at the end of this.
Why are you?
So Booker, does he have any political clout at all?
No.
I think he's not really a person who's ever going to have a chance to win the presidency. He's kind of just going to be this guy who exists.
Pretty
in
much.
Politics. He's just a black man who's in politics.
He's their token black to pull out to urge
Black people to vote. He's
That's
also
his-
somebody who faked a relationship with Zaria Dawson.
We
We're
gonna
not
move
forgetting
past
bruh.
that. That's his business.
I'm not moving past that. He faked the
He
relationship.
faked the relationship. She faked the relationship. She came out as a dyke.
We'll see what.
Let's move on and move past it.
It's funny how right after that she came out, it was like, all right.
Right after they broke up, she came out as a dyke.
She couldn't help
Move
herself.
past it.
Let me show y'all some of this article here. U.S. Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey assured members of the NAACP on Saturday that all hope isn't lost on the black agenda in Washington, and made the case as to why black voters should not sit out next year's midterm elections, despite some growing worry of President Joe Biden and Democrats at large amid stalled bills critical for black America.
What has Joe Biden done for black people? He's taken away money from HBCUs.
Yep.
He didn't reparations. The HR 40 is that progressing? Is that moving along? I don't hear nobody talking about
HR
that.
40 is well, how much is they gonna do anyway? Just to be honest.
What?
Study.
He passed a crime bill for Asians.
Yeah.
He has bills sitting on his desk for the lynching act. He has not acted
Well, I don't
on
know
it.
if they're on his desk, but they're in.
They're on somebody's damn desk in the White House, and it ain't made it to him yet.
Yeah, Booker, who has led negotiation on the now failed George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, you just brought that up, along with fellow Democrat U.S. Representative Karen Bass and Republican Senator Tim Scott, acknowledged the legislative roadblocks to police reform and voting rights is very divided in a very divided Congress. So his job is to convince black people, hey man, we still in it.
For me, it's falling on deaf ears. I don't want to hear what none of them got to say.
I don't think nobody listening. I mean, out of all people, they know. Ain't too
When
many
you hear
people-
Cory Booker, you go, who?
ain't nobody really listening to Cory Booker in the first place.
The man from Idaho, Potato State?
He from Idaho?
I think he's from Idaho.
Yeah,
His family is from Idaho.
Yeah, I think he's
He's in New Jersey.
representative from
But
New
I think
Jersey.
his family come from Idaho. You know it. We already know.
Shout out to all the people, black people in Idaho. I don't know no niggas in Idaho, but shout out to y'all.
Potato eating mother.
Patience with Biden wearing thin among black leaders.
They ain't never had patience for him.
Yeah.
So my patience ain't wearing thin.
Black voters and activists are increasingly frustrated with Democrats and Biden administration in the wake of the party's latest failure to advance voting rights legislation. I asked the question, how many black people really are worried about a voting rights bill?
We went down south about a month ago, and none of those Negros is talking about, oh Lord,
I need to be able to vote next year. I sure hope they get that bill passed.
They was like, Biden better not mess with my damn Medicaid.
No, they said Biden better give me my damn. They said they want their next stimmy. That's what they were talking about.
They owed interest on it because
Yeah, late.
that's why they was getting those those loans, those
Yeah,
PPP.
loans. We had a cousin that said, he said Trump gave me 2. I didn't give me none.
He said, I'm trying to get I'm gonna get his ass out next term.
In the first days of office, he didn't say he pro-Trump. He said I'm pro, how you say it? Pro-green or something like that?
Pro green, pro stimulus checks, pro something.
Yeah, he said in the first days in the office, President Biden signed in a flurry of executive orders to advance equity throughout every aspect of the federal government, but his campaign promises were far loftier, and Democrats have struggled to make good on them. They ain't made good on none of them. None of them. They did nothing they said they was going to do. But we know this. We already know. NAACP President and CEO Derek Johnson delivered a stark warning to Biden in a statement released after the failed Holter spoke on Freedom to Vote Act Wednesday afternoon. Don't forget that black voters landed a victory for the president in this Congress, so don't fail us again. You see, the problem is you said the word again there, which means you've already allowed them to fail you once. You already lost. you allowed them to do it once. They feel like, shit, I'm
yeah, we're gonna talk about the press secretary. She still has not came out and said anything about Haitian Americans. The deputy,
or the deputy secretary.
She still has not came out and said anything, has she?
She can't. Can she?
Oh hell.
By the way, we were speaking about Colin Powell. You know, he's in the military, highly respected. I want to show y'all this right quick. This is Flash. Rachel Levine, openly transgender health official.
Randall Levine.
Rachel. I forgot his real name.
Ralph.
To be sworn in as 4-star admiral. Now, he won't actually be a part of the military branch as you think. It's some type of health wing of the military that nobody care about. This is just for clicks. He's not really a 4-star general in the certain military that you're thinking of in your head. But the point is, this is insanity. Have y'all been paying attention to what's going on right now? China is launching hypersonic missiles that America can't see from the southern border.
China is also promoting masculinity throughout their country because they're trying to
they banned certain material from television and stuff. So
mainly American.
No, actually theirs. Because their TV is way worse when it comes to that. It was way worse. Like the way they dress and stuff. Was that China or was that Korea? North Korea. No, it's China.
What
we talking about?
Yeah, that was China.
Okay.
He's promoting masculinity on TV because he's getting his military ready and prepared. He's trying to get his men in a war mind state.
Yeah. Okay, now to the juicy part of this. All right. We talked about the Jamaican side of Colin Powell and who was really black. I want to show y'all this first. This is a guy on Twitter I found who made a point about reparations, but he mentioned brown people. He said reparations aren't just about slavery. No, our nation must atone for countless modern day atrocities, medical abuses, failed immigration policies, housing and financial discrimination, and a biased legal system that has imprisoned more black and brown folks than slavery ever did. That first section there, what do you think?
I was on board until we get to the last sentence.
I don't know why he added brown.
We've been answering this question. Well, I'm not gonna say we. I'm gonna speak for myself. I've been asking this question. I've been saying, who are they referring to when they say brown?
We're gonna answer that question today. When speaking of reparations and modern medical abuses against black and brown people, a glaring example are the forced and targeted sterilization programs that continued well into my own lifetime. Fannie Lou Hamer spoke of the Mississippi appendectomy. If anyone believes that there aren't both black and brown present-day descendants of slavery, they're wrong. What brown people was in slavery? Also, I want everyone to get their due. I'm not interested in some twisted paper bag test of who is black enough for reparations. What? Hold on.
Sounds like he's going at ADOS.
So wait, he just said black and brown descendants of slavery and then said, I want everyone to get their just due. I'm not interested in some twisted paper bag test on who is black enough. Why didn't you say brown enough? So is brown meant to be the diaspora?
Yes.
That's what it seemed like.
We finally figured out who the brown is.
We always thought brown, they're talking about the Mexicans. We're going to get into the Mexicans calling themselves brown. But it seems like with these people, they talking about brown as in the diaspora.
That's Jamaica, Caribbeans,
Dominicans,
Brazil.
Yeah.
That's the
Trinidad,
brown.
That's the brown, I guess.
That's the brown, finally. We've got our answer, who the brown is.
Y'all are foolish. I'm black. My black parents and black grandparents taught me who I am. Most black folks are multiracial. Slavery.
That's a lie.
That's not true. We're born into a legacy of greatness. I'm not going to perpetuate the same oppressive system that attempted to hold my people down.
Let me tell you something. That's a lie. Listen, I don't believe that once again, speak for myself. I don't believe ancestry, my heritage and all that crap 100%. But when they do it, they literally, we know that we started from South Carolina and North Carolina, and it tells us that our family went up to, my dad's side went up to the north. Our father's side went up north.
Yeah.
Now, when I did my ancestry test, listen, we not pale light skin, but we're light skin.
I ain't that light. Come on now.
Huh?
We ain't that light.
I said we're not pale light skin.
Oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
I thought you were trying to be like, go ahead, finish your point.
Anyway, there are people who are darker than us and that are in the 70s.
Yeah. When you get the ancestry test,
we're in the 80s.
You'll see people who are in the 80s and think they'll be in the 70s. You see people you think will be in the 90s.
And just because it says European does not mean white European.
Yeah. That's something that's going to fuck people's head up. White, when you get that ancestry test, when you have European on there, especially like Irish, Britain, and stuff like that, that don't mean, that doesn't mean white.
That means you had black ancestry
that came from those places.
In Europe.
I know in school, you think black people were not in Ireland. Yes, they were. There were black people there. Regardless of how many people you think were there,
black people were in Norway.
For instance, if you have a certain last name, you'll
Germany.
Notice, you see most black people. You look up your name, you'll find German, English, Irish. Those are names most black Americans have.
And they'll tell you, no, that's the white man last name.
No, that ain't they names. We'll get into another point. Talk about that some other.
But what my whole point is, when he's saying that black people are multiracial, not all of us are. We're not mixed up.
You see,
as people think we are.
At this point, this dude here made a point. He said, "There is not a brown equivalent to Tulsa riots in America. There's not a brown equivalent to the Devil's Punch Bowl in America. There's not a brown equivalent to the Philadelphia bombing in 1985. We talked about that. There's not a brown equivalent to Bruce's beat story." So, obviously, he's right. Next person said, "Trying to recall the last time I ever seen someone from the Latino community include Black Americans into their convos and justice claims. Oh, that's right. It doesn't happen."
That's 100% facts.
That's true. But what Latinos is he talking about? Once again, it's confusing. They keep saying brown, and we have this idea of what brown is. Well, we're gonna get into
because
that.
nobody ever comes out and says it directly. When you hear black, you associate it with Black Americans. When you say brown, it's like, who you talking about? You talking about Mexicans? You talking about Dominican, Puerto Rican? Who are you talking about when you're referencing brown?
They really just mean anything South America,
because
Central America.
Indian people classify themselves as brown.
Yeah. Matter of fact, they come into America calling themselves black.
Asian people classify themselves as yellow.
Yep. And now they kind of call them, some of them from certain areas in those
Asian you mean countries. The Bay Area?
No, some of them in some of those Asian countries are calling themselves brown in America. They'll say the darker Asians aren't treated like the lighter ones. They call themselves brown as well. So brown is turning into anything not white or black, basically. So we're gonna walk y'all into it. We're gonna start with this. A Latino family paved the way for school desegregation is still unknown history. When you read this case, they make a point that I think this was in California. I'll read a little bit. A little girl in Westminster, California in 1945, Sylvia Mendez, yearned to attend a beautiful school with a nice playground with a school bus deposited her every morning. But the 9-year-old wasn't allowed in that school because she was Mexican American. Keep that in mind, Mexican American. Instead, each day she walked past her dream school and trudged over the Mexican school, a rundown building. Rundown building next to a cow pasture. As she recalled, the conditions there were terrible. All of our books and desks were used and beat up. Boys learned stuff to prepare them for vocational work, and we learned sewing and home economics. I was like they were preparing. It was like they were preparing us, the girls, to become maids. Okay,
so she's referencing the whole thing that because Mexicans are known for being housekeepers.
Yeah, but this story is bullshit. I'm not even gonna read the article. I'll leave it in and I'm gonna leave it in the what's called. You can check yourself. That story is bullshit. Actually, if you go to the Wikipedia, they'll tell you this case had nothing. It did not impact whatsoever the desegregation of schools. It literally only impacted that district. It had no impact whatsoever on the national level. It wasn't until the black people pushed for this that it became a national story.
It's like these other nations of people are always trying to take credit from black people for some reason.
And it goes to our other point. How many times have these other groups used Black Americans to gain for themselves their own demographic?
All groups.
So the Mexican people, who back then they called themselves Mexican American. I know they use that now, but they use it differently back then. They used the word Chicano as well. They didn't start calling themselves brown until later on. But I'm gonna read something else. This is from a person I found on on Twitter. But this is they use these quotes from a book pointing out how other demographics view Black Americans and how to them, not to Black Americans, it's them versus Black Americans. You see here, and Jennifer Lee, as Tommy Morrison explained in her 1973 Time magazine article titled "On the Backs of Blacks." This is in 1973. In race talk, the move into mainstream America always means buying into the notion of American blacks are the real aliens. Whenever the ethnicity or nationality of an immigrant is, whatever the ethnicity or nationality of an immigrant, his nemesis is understood to be African Americans. You know why? Because you got to stay at the bottom. This is why anytime you gain a little bit, they got to say something. When Black Panther came out, what's that Latino woman name? The one who always got
the one that was singing and accidentally said nigga and then said, "Oh, I thought
I could. I'm Black. I grew up. Yeah, whatever.
I grew up around."
She made sure to point out when the Asian Crazy Rich Asian movie came out, she applauded it. Good representation. But when Black Americans had Black Panther came out and it turned into this huge, gigantic success.
We need more.
We need more. Where she said, "Where's the Latino Black Panther?" And Black people joked and said, "Desperado."
I fuck with Desperado.
Yeah,
I like that movie.
Black people, we fuck with Desperado. But the point is, the reason why you become the nemesis because you have to stay at the bottom. Everybody understands you're the stepping stool when you get into this country.
Just like,
so you see here, she notes that every immigrant group to enter the United States steps on the backs of African Americans in order to rise above them.
Who were we talking about earlier? The white rapper?
Machine Gun Kelly.
Machine Gun Kelly now is with Meg Fox.
And he's changing
his image, as you said, turning into this punk rock dude.
He used to be a rapper. Now he's changing his demographics now.
Once again, stepping stone on the Black community. Pink did it too.
Yeah.
Singing Mary J. Blige and everything else in clubs.
Who was the other one? It was a white woman. People were saying she might have been biracial or something. Who was that woman? That might have been the 80s or 90s. There's a woman who came out who was singing. People thought she was black. Was it Madonna?
Oh,
it was Madonna. When she first
they
came
didn't
out,
show her face.
They didn't show her face. People thought Madonna might have been a black woman.
I never thought Madonna was a black woman.
I can't remember if it was Madonna or somebody else, but I think it was Madonna.
If you close your eyes and you hear her voice, you know it's not a black woman.
There was the music. It wasn't her voice. It was the music she was making.
Not only that, they had black vocals on her tracks.
Yeah, the lacing her with black vocals. Yeah. But yeah, as I was saying, she notes that every immigrant group to enter the United States steps on the backs of Black African Americans in order to rise above them. A study of ethno-historical records shows her to be correct, and anti-blackness appears to be a necessity under the U.S. racial regime. You're going to drop down to where you highlighted. The real regime changer we need, a multi-ethno coalition standing up for the equal consideration of all humans, seems by contrast to be a progressive pipe dream. Well, okay. If y'all ever go on any social media platform and you see these ultra left progressives, they call themselves progressives. Whenever you debate them, what is the main thing they tell you about race? They say it's about classism. We need allies. And I'm surprised when I seen a dude, he's a Pan-Africanist. He said the same thing. We need a coalition. And when you hear coalition, I hate to say it, I'm gonna prove it later. That's Marxism.
It is.
A lot of them are socialists, Marxists, or communists. And whatever you believe is what you believe.
Just like, what's his name?
What do you mean?
They did a movie about him.
Fred Hampton?
Fred Hampton.
Yeah, he was a communist.
He was a communist, Marxist.
Most of them, when you go back to all of them, the only ones I haven't been able to prove is like Malcolm X.
Martin Luther King too.
No, Malcolm X, I can't see him. I haven't seen any proof that he's a Marxist.
Nothing yet.
Maybe
that don't mean we trying to say, we trying to hope and find something
we're
on
not praying about it. I'm just saying.
It just mean nobody can be trusted.
It's just funny how all of them a lot of them, those black minds
went to
60s,
Berkeley.
They went to Berkeley. And
Which
they
is
all
known
are under the
for
same people. When you look up these names, the same names pop up where they get their theology from. Like how you a pro-black Pan-African who get your beliefs from a white man named Karl Marx. Your whole idea of life comes from a Caucasian man, yet you say you're pro-black. What? Your mind isn't even black no more.
You're not gonna make it make sense. So
Your mind ain't black no more. But anyway, let's move on. This next thing. Let's see here. It said Mexicans and West Indians each appealed to whites for recognition as different from the U.S. blacks, to which they were later often being compared. What the hell?
being compared.
Yeah, we're later often being compared. We're often being compared. I think they messed that up. Each of these groups have chosen to deny or distance themselves from the ethnic group that is believed to be the main occupier of the category black in the United States. That is, Black Americans, also known as African Americans. It should be clear by now that U.S.-style blackness is something quite heinous, given that nearly every group identified as having an ethnic project has used African American as a baseline for what is racially dreadful, and against which every other ethnic group is supposedly superior.
And that's what ADOS is saying. You are the permanent underclass.
Perhaps the reason for their inability to succeed is that each of these groups threaten the racial status quo, whereas the successful ones have not. Perhaps these ethnic projects do not succeed because these are the very first groups incorporated. The racial hierarchy was created with their incorporation into the racial bottom in the U.S. land grab that created the nation. And perhaps it took some time for the lessons of the ethnic project to be perfected, as was the case for the Euro migrants who arrived after them. One requirement of a successful ethnic project is to never threaten the status quo, even as you seek to create better socioeconomic conditions for your group. Perhaps this is part of the creation of the noble savage idea in the heads of U.S. intellectuals. This is kind of saying everything. This is the book here. The Ethnic Project, Transforming Racial Fiction into Ethnic Factions. Kind of said everything there. So basically, Black Americans, African Americans, have to be the permanent underclass. So when an immigrant comes here, first they're told, I want to be closer to white, not black. That's the first generation. So they are they blatant. They tell the kids, don't hang around them, stay away from them. They make sure to point out what country they're from, what they would call their nationality.
Until recently.
And no. Then the generations go second, third generation. Then it's, I'm black. The first generation, they make sure to point out, I'm whatever the country is, American. I'm Haitian American. I'm Jamaican American. I'm whatever country American.
Nah, they scared to tell what they is now.
But then the second generation, they go, I'm African American.
You have to dig, find, search high and low to find out people's nationality now.
So let's get into the Hispanic side of this. Let me go ahead and here. The invention of Hispanics, what it says about the politics of race. So I was reading this article, and in this article, they run down the history of how these people began to pretty much call themselves. These people began to call themselves brown. So yeah, how these people began to call themselves by this name. Let me show y'all the screen. Look at this. I just want a few pieces out of this. Key takeaways. Number one, assimilation has been a goal of Mexican Americans for most of their history. When the 1930 census classified Mexican American as a race, leaders of the community protested vehemently and had the classification changed back to white. Spanish, Hispanic, and Latino is now a well-established ethnic category in the U.S. Census. So he goes through the history of Mexican Americans and stuff. So I'm going to start with a little bit of this. Assimilation has been a goal of Mexican Americans for most of their history. 115,000 or so former citizens of Mexico chose to stay north in Rio Grande after the 1846-48 Mexican-American War. They occupied the territory much like many others that American obtained. We know all this. Well into the 1960s, a desire to be absorbed into the great American melting pot made many Mexican Americans suspicious of continued immigration, which was high from the 1890s on. What?
Oh, you probably should have read where it said they were intermarrying.
Where? Go ahead. Point it out.
Like the Dutch of New York.
Oh, like the Dutch of New York and the Cajuns of Spanish of the Louisiana Purchase, Mexican Americans freely intermarried with the Scottish, Irish, and German Americans who populate the Southwest.
The Mexican boxer.
Oh, Canelo Alvarez.
Canelo Alvarez.
He's German, I think. Or it's Irish. I'm sorry.
He's Irish.
He's Irish, yeah. Yeah. So Canelo is a byproduct of intermarriage amongst the Mexican Americans and the Irish.
The Scottish, Irish.
Yeah.
Irish.
Yeah, so where am I at?
Well into the...
Okay. Mexican Americans concluded that the needs and interests of American citizens simply had to... Listen. The needs and interests of American citizens simply had to take precedence over the problems faced by the growing Mexican immigrant population. So the Mexicans who were in America were dismissive of the immigrants.
They are to this day.
To this day, they vote kind of.
Remember in Florida?
Oh, that's Cubans. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's Cubans.
Same thing though. The Cubans are, I'm Cuban American.
They believe in American policy that you are supposed to go through proper procedures when integrating to this country.
Strict. They believe if they let you in and you flood the gates and make the country worse, I'm going to suffer.
Because I'm already leaving a place where...
Yeah, it's already bad. So yeah. Where was I? Oh, according to the U.S. San Diego social scientist David G. Guerrero, it is a book, Walls and Mirrors, for the most community leaders. Mexican Americans were in fact Americans and therefore should make every effort to assimilate into the American social and cultural mainstream. But two organizations stood out for the support of assimilation, so they didn't want it. They wanted it, I'm sorry. So they named these two organizations. And then I'm going to drop down here, playing the race card. The activists who fomented such grievances had two weapons at their disposal: ideology and economic incentives that government and private sectors soon began offering to members of groups who claimed to be as oppressed as blacks had been. So they called themselves Mexican Americans and they were proud Americans. But people that didn't want to be, let's be honest, there was some communists who convinced them that they should be a separate group so that they can get incentives for being an oppressed class, like the blacks.
Yep.
Copy the blacks. Call yourself brown. We'll get into that. On the ideological front, the activists had realized that the vehicle of radical change would not be for the working man, but the identity group. They were influenced by a European communist thinker, Antonio whatever, who in the 1930s had a transformative epiphany. Marx, you see there? Marx had promised that the working class would overthrow bourgeoisie, but the working class had been astonishingly bad at achieving revolution. He and others later, particularly the German-American Columbia University professor Herbert Marcuse, agreed that it was nearly impossible to instill into the proletariat the feelings of resentment, that's working class, that would conduce to mass organization. Man can aspire to improve his economic conditions. After all, what he cannot change is his race or sex. So, and by the way, this dude here, these weren't just theories. Marcuse took a personal hand. He directly shaped and worldview of future Black Panther Angela Davis.
You got a bone to pick with Angela Davis.
I'm just saying, her entire ideology come from a white man, and this dude is the one who, I won't say he created it, but he's one of the thinkers of critical theory, which turned into critical race theory. It's Marxist, man. It's communist.
It is.
To whom he taught philosophy. He taught philosophies at Brandeis. You get the point. They were told to call themselves brown, in order to get the same incentives that the government was offering to the blacks. So this is how you get the black and brown coalition, the rainbow coalition.
Because remember, we talked about, I don't know, was this the last video where the Mexican woman was telling how she didn't have to ride the back of the bus like the blacks did?
Yeah, the video we put on our last video?
I think it was last podcast.
Yeah, definitely last podcast.
She was saying how
yeah, she made the point that we didn't have to deal with that. We had a little bit of.
she rode the front of the bus, and the only time she went to the back of the bus is when her black friend, her Clarence was back there. She would go back there when the bus was empty because she didn't want to take up the seats from the other blacks.
Here you go, insinuating a lot.
I'm not insinuating shit. I'm just pointing out the obvious again.
Here we go. But look at this. In these years, 1930 to 1968, leaders in the Mexican community claimed to be white and promoted the term Mexican American. See, they used that Mexican American term as a ethnicity. That was who they supposed to be. But in 1968, brought about a sea change in their racial categorization of Mexicans. For starting with a 10,000 strong student protest against appalling conditions in East Los Angeles schools, Mexican insurgents shouting Chicano power.
Black power.
You see? This development was path-breaking in ethno-racial terms because it was the first time Mexicans in the United States claimed to be brown.
And niggas fall for this type of stuff.
So Chicano power was copying black power.
Like the fucking Asians talking about Asians with power. Asians with attitude.
Oh, yeah,
copying niggas with attitude.
Yeah,
it's just
because they understand. I don't know what it is. We know what it is, but black people have an energy that can be bottled up. Like nobody else can do it. Nobody can generate.
When we say black people, we're referring to
Black Americans.
Black Americans. Sorry,
I won't say just Black Americans.
It's not just Black Americans.
Yeah, it's not just Black Americans, but in this case, we're talking about in America. But this energy that Black Americans can create for any cause, people use it for their own cause.
Like that.
Nobody was listening to the women until they convinced black women to join them. Nobody was listening to the gays until they convinced the black gays to join them. It's the black ones. It's a gift and a curse at the same time. I'm just showing y'all where this comes from. All right, so the next thing. There's diversity within the black diaspora. Afro Latinos in Atlanta speak up. So we went through the Mexicans, the immigrants. Now we got to go to this diaspora, particularly the Afro Latinos.
Who don't even identify themselves as black.
Until recently, like you said. So now everybody want to talk about their black leaning. And look, for a second here, can we acknowledge it's a little bit of our fault?
No, we're gonna
hold on.
We're gonna let New York take the blame for that.
No, not New York. For a while there, we were telling everybody, you black just from a different place.
In the South?
Well, we're not around a lot of those people, so we can't say it to them. We're not around them. But let's not act like we weren't saying this stuff about certain actors and stuff.
Who?
Like The Rock and stuff. We were saying that.
No, we did not.
We were. We'll get
That's
to that
a lie.
Too.
I've never. I'm gonna speak for myself.
Right.
I've never saw The Rock and thought that's a black man. He looked Samoan,
but he is black though.
No, he's black and Samoan.
Okay? He's black and Samoan though.
I'm just on you. So when you were little, you thought the Rock was a black man.
To you. When I was little, I thought he was a black man. I didn't know that he didn't claim it. I thought he was just a black dude. When I was little, I'm not lying. I thought it was The Rock. You had Booker T. I thought all these dudes were black.
Okay.
I knew who the Mexicans and whites were. I thought he was one with Booker T and them back in the day. But yeah, this article here is a dude who says that he's when you read this, it sounds like a biracial person. Even though he doesn't say he's two different races, he points out a race in an ethnicity, or a race in a nationality almost. What is Latino would be considered ethnicity, right?
Latino is considered a nationality.
No, it's ethnicity.
How's it an ethnicity? How's it an ethnicity? Ethnicity and race is the same thing.
No.
So he's right, black and...
Yeah, race is a, phenotype and stuff.
Ethnicity is a culture.
Cultural. So okay. He's named a culture and a race. That's what he is.
Okay.
Which means he's really saying Latino is white and black is something else. But yeah, when I go to this article, you'll see why we brought it up. Afro Latino community leaders in Atlanta gathered on Thursday to talk about their lived experiences in the South, including the prejudice they face in both the Hispanic and Black communities. Don't this sound like when biracial people be talking? The panel discussion was sought to boost Afro Latino visibility on the tail end of Hispanic Heritage Month. So wait, it's Hispanic Heritage Month, but on the end of it, you bring up the Afro Latino part.
Shouldn't you been talking about the Afro Latino part in Black History Month?
Isn't it just Hispanic? That's once again, it's not a race. They classify it as a race here in America, but it's not a race.
Well, no, it wouldn't make sense for them to bring it up in Black History Month because they classify themselves as Afro Latina.
So they're culturally Latino.
So they're So they should bring it up in their
Hispanic
Heritage Month.
Yeah, was held. Georgia's first public park to be named after Hispanic individual. Gonzalez was a Cuban immigrant and an advocate for the Latino minority rights in Atlanta. Organizers include 100 Black men of Atlanta and hype Hispanic young professionals and entrepreneurs. Okay, it's Hispanic Heritage Month. What are the 100 Black men of Atlanta doing there? It's Hispanic Heritage Month. What is Black? I'm not understanding. Now you see this dude right here, Jason, Atlanta school board chair and first Latino elected to the school board of education in Georgia, was 2 years old when his family moved from Puerto Rico to Macon. In open remarks, he said his childhood was a journey of confusion. I just didn't understand. Was I Black? Was I Hispanic?
Is that the dude in the picture right there?
Yeah. What was I? It wasn't until college in Miami that I met people like me who could be Black and Latino and could be comfortable in their skin. So he said, I'm making the point. Remember, the first question we ask is, who is Black? That's the question we're starting with. Who is Black? Roughly, according to the U.S., Hispanics consider themselves Afro-Latino, Afro-Caribbean, or of African descent. According to the Pew Research Center study, in Latin America, one in every 4 people identifies as Afro-descendant per the World Bank report. Then you got this dude here. Look, man. He says he a Black man.
And when it...
I had his mouth still like he had the earring in.
Yes, sir. I'm about to say he got a fucking earring.
Yeah, like he got the earring in right there. But yeah, this dude right here says he is a Black man. He said it was a solitary journey for a long time to try and explain to people that there are Latinos who are Black. I'm not saying I'm African American. That's a totally different group.
They always, if you notice, when you go to South America and you go to those Puerto Rican and Dominican countries, they always point that out. They'll say, we're not African American. You can go on any one of those videos.
Well, they do that. They'll say they do that because Black Americans or African Americans are hyper visible. So when they see a Black person, they assume you think I'm them.
Well, no, when I look at him, I wouldn't think he was African American.
I know, but I'm saying when he was growing up, whatever country his people might be from, they saw Black Americans on television more, at least because American television is everywhere. So when they see people say you're Black, they think that's what goes to who is Black. But when you hear Black, you think African American. That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm making. This whole thing is the point I'm making. He's basically saying, don't think like the certain group said, I'm regular Black. I am whatever country I'm from. Regular Black, African American, Black, that's the same. That's Black Americans. We don't all come from North Carolina and South Carolina. Some ships went to Central America or South America. Added in reference to the transatlantic slave trade that began more than 400 years ago.
And that's true. Some slave ships did go to Central America and South America, but let's be honest. Most of the people are in Brazil. Brazil has the highest Black population outside of Africa.
Yeah. You see here, Helda Abbott. It's funny because that name Abbott, there's Black Americans I know with that name. So that's funny. But an Afro-Dominican businesswoman says she remembered growing up in the pressure from her relatives to Mejora la Raza, or improve the race. We know that La Raza, that's city council. Abbott says that meant look for a white boy and pass on lighter skin and with white features to get white features to later generations. All right, now that means it to my next point. Black pride. How the term Black, the same way the Mexican Americans were convinced to call themselves brown for social capital or get incentives, Black Americans were convinced to call themselves black as well. There was an interview that I saw a guy named Queensflip. I'm pretty sure y'all know him. He had an interview with a guy named Allah B.
I want a battle.
He's an elder. He did some time in prison, but he's very wise. I think he's a 5%er, or what they call a god. The black man is God. He pointed out some history because he grew up in that time. So he pointed out that back in 1950s, black people we know were referred to as Negro, which just means black. In Latin, it means black.
We wish ADOS would have went with the
Negro.
With Negro.
Yeah, but that's besides the point. But he said we called each other Negro. If you called another black person, if you called a black person black, it was a fight. That was equal to calling them the N-word. And I don't mean the one with the, I don't mean nigga, I mean the other one. If we say that, we'll get hit. That's why we ain't saying it right now. But he said you couldn't call, it wasn't until we had the Black Power movement where black people started feeling a level of power or what's the word I'm looking for? Motivation with that term black. I'm gonna show y'all a little video I created to show how back then Negro and black were interchangeable. Black didn't mean everyone, it meant a particular demographic. I'm gonna show y'all that now.
My personal political philosophy, black nationalism, which means that the black man should control the politics of his own community and control the politicians who are in his own community. My personal economic philosophy is also black nationalism, which means that the black man should have a hand in controlling the economy of the so-called Negro community. He should be developing the type of knowledge that will enable him to own and operate the businesses and thereby be able to create employment for his own people, for his own kind. And the social philosophy also is black nationalism, which means that instead of the black man trying to force himself into the society of the white man, we should be trying to eliminate from our own society the ills and the defects and make ourselves likable and sociable.
Now that last clip was of a woman named Abby Lincoln. She's married to a guy named Max. She was a singer actor, and the reason why I brought her up is because this guy Allah B, he was saying she was one of the first. Cause remember, this is in Harlem. She was one of the first people that were celebrities, women, that pushed the natural look. And she said out of her own mouth that her husband, the drummer Max, is the one who told her to go natural.
Which is what we've been trying to tell y'all black women. We prefer how you look in your natural state. So wigs.
Yeah, she said she was brought into the industry and they treated her like she was just another pretty woman. That was the image they were selling for her. She was just another pretty woman in the industry. That was her marketing. She got with him. He was like, I think she said she started doing some jazz. The civil rights thing started coming into her. And that's when he told her natural.
You'll be your best at your natural state.
So this is what I keep saying. The afro, the black power, the black leather, all black. That was an era. That's when black became a thing. Before that, it was Negro, colored. That didn't become a thing until the late 50s, early 60s that black became the term. But then after that, they tried to change it to African American, which stuck but didn't stick. Because people still call themselves black. But yeah,
some people say I ain't no African American.
Yeah, they
I'm
say
black.
I'm black because James Brown. I'm black and I'm
Say it
proud.
now.
And you listen to the song, he's talking about the struggle.
Yeah.
This is what goes back to that other article written about the Mexicans, how they were convinced to identify with their race, which means identify with their struggle. That's how they created these separate groups to get what they want. But we're not gonna get into that right now. Point is, the question once again, who is black? Are black Americans the only black? Well, based off the history of where black comes from, yes. Matter of fact, how many times have we seen people from other countries say they didn't get confidence in their hair or their skin tone and stuff until they went to America?
Mm-hmm.
Or listen. I'm sorry. Or listen to American media, or watching American media. I'm sorry. That's how they gain a certain level of black independence in them, proud of their blackness. So I'm not saying that to be what they call Black Americans a main character syndrome. That's what it is. When you say pro-black, that's Black American. That's what it is. I'm gonna show something else because people said that Black Americans. You saw in that article where they talked about how when they come to America, immigrants, not Black immigrants, but immigrants in general, African American at the bottom, you want to disassociate with them. But on the flip side, African Americans are one of the most accepting groups, more so than even other immigrants. Let me show y'all this. Many question their Nigerian identity, particularly as it related to expectations placed on them by fellow Nigerians. Now read this. I mean, again, it's kind of hurtful because it's kind of twofold. So one hand, it's why don't they believe in me? And on the other hand, it's kind of like, well, maybe I'm wrong. And so maybe I'm not Nigerian. Maybe I'm not who I think I am. So it made me question a lot. So I responded. So when you have other African students saying, well, you're not really Nigerian, it's like, okay, I'm not really Nigerian then. I guess I'll go over and be a Black student. You see that? Black is different. It was kind of like the one final straw that made me disassociate myself completely with all things Nigerian. But whereas the Black Student Union was more open, didn't care if you were Black, Caribbean, Nigerian, or whatever. You were Black. Fear of being questioned about our denial of Nigerian identity led a number of participants to intentionally avoid Africans in their school. As Bummy articulated, it just made me kind of weary of it, and also weary of Africans on campus. And as Uzma demonstrated above, other participants decided to join organizations that they found to be more inclusive and non-judgmental. So not only did they make the point where Black Americans treated them better, they also made the point that Black people were their own group. You see what she said? Look at that. Didn't care if you were Black, that's one group, Caribbean, that's another group, or Nigerian. So Black is his own group. Black is Black American.
Yeah.
So once
the
again,
question's already been answered.
The question is answered. Let me show y'all this. This probably might be the last one on this subject. I'm not sure. An excellent example of the negotiation of this negotiation is the illustration by the tension that exists between some Black immigrants and African Americans. More specifically, much of the animosity that exists between the group's members has a lot to do with the adaptation and perpetuation of negative stereotypes by Black immigrants about African Americans. Mary Waters, Afro-Caribbean respondents, for example, tended to espouse some of most denigrating stereotypes about African Americans. Other scholars show that Black immigrants tend to believe African Americans are lazy, are likely to be discourteous, use drugs, be criminals, and many Black immigrants blame African Americans for the group's lack of success relative to other racial groups. Black immigrants have an incentive to distance themselves from African Americans as well as rely on white racial frames. The white gaze, baby. I mean, that's all it right there, though, pretty much. So when you ask that, somebody asked that question, are Black Americans the only Black people? Yes, based off.
We're not talking about based off of skin tone.
It's not skin tone.
We're talking about culturally,
or even politically. You can say
see
that's
where the confusion. That's where the confusion come in. We're not talking about physically.
We're not saying you're not Black or our people. We're saying,
well, some of them.
Yeah, some of them kind of off.
Some of them not our people.
Yeah, some of them say that, but we're not saying you're not our people. We're saying you're Black is a designated term that has been so like African American. We're about to get into that now. The word African American was for Black American,
but they've somehow turned it into people who are from anybody that's from African descent.
But I'm not as mad with that one because it is African American. So if
which means we should have never been named African American.
If you're a person who's from Africa and you move to America, you are African American. The same way. No. If you're German and you move to America, you're German American.
German is a country.
Yeah, you're right.
Africa is a continent.
You cut me. Why you gonna cut me like that though?
If they're from Nigeria,
no, why you had to bring the blade on me like that?
There's a rusty blade too.
See, I thought I was making a good point. You just gonna smash in the window. All right, go ahead.
Because we can't have. I told you we can't have your ass on the panel because you be
Hey,
They
you
be
black.
they be
You
like,
black.
what?
You African American.
Nigga, they Nigerian. They ain't fucking African. See, that's the ignorance. They say the ignorance.
Ignorance. Yeah. All right. So you're right. They were from Africa. They be from a particular country, and they would be
Which
Nigerian
is what they
American,
identify themselves. when they
Indian
come
American,
here.
South African American. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, that's why they get mad when you black slavery. You don't go to every country
Yeah, yeah.
in
But
Africa.
the point I'm making though, if you are African, you call yourself African American, that make more sense than you calling yourself black.
It don't make more sense.
So it make equal amount of sense to call yourself black rather than African, even though you're from the continent of Africa.
Well, they don't identify as the continent. They identify as the country where they're
I'm
from.
making a point now that it make more sense. You at least are from the continent of Africa. I'm not even from the continent. Well, my family hasn't been in Africa.
However, I will say this: Asian people identify as they
Asian
don't.
American. See, now you just hold on. The cut is healed, and you just cut
No,
yourself.
the cut
You
is
just cut yourself.
no,
Asian American.
Asian American.
Asian American.
Well,
Deal with
because
that.
Africans are different from Asian American. They're more tribal. They want to
Asians
be
are tribal.
They're tribal, but they don't have a problem being called Asian American. The problem is Africans. They have a problem when you identify them as an African. They say I'm not an
Not all of
African.
them. Not all of them.
Shit.
I know what you're saying, but not all of them.
Who?
There's some of them, if you call them African, they go, I'm a real African. How many times you see them have their title on their names? Here in the comment section, pure African or whatever.
No, they want to be identified from the country they from.
Okay.
I was trying to help you, but still, I was just letting you know
No.
there are a sector of people who identify themselves
You
as
healed me a little
the continent
bit,
where
and I
they're
think I might
from.
be right. I think I might be right down there.
No,
But
you
we
off.
gonna move on. We're going to move on. African American. So there's a panel that was created in California. It is a California Reparations Task Force. And they talked about the eligibility of reparations for African Americans.
You said what are they called?
What you mean?
What did it get in name?
Reparations Task Force?
Oh, Reparation Boule Task Force.
So I'm gonna show y'all two quick videos. They're not that long. Two videos of them discussing the parameters for which they're framing who is eligible for reparations.
Trying to get away from ADOS.
And it's slick. It isn't slick talking there. I'm gonna show y'all this now. Hold on. All right, here we go.
With AB 3121 and the language in that statute, and even some of the legislative intent and history that accompanies that language, which we did ask the DOJ to submit to us. The language in the statute specifically says reparations for African Americans with special consideration for descendants of chattel slavery. And my understanding is that initially the legislatures had this drafted very specifically with the special consideration language, and then it was broadened to include African Americans generally with special consideration for descendants of slavery. So in order to realize the legislative intent, I think that we need to start with that language and ground our conversation in that language.
Thank you, Member Holder, for that. And just to piggyback off of that thought, this conversation about eligibility will be an ongoing conversation that we'll have, for the next 2 years. And we do anticipate bringing people on to talk specifically about this issue of eligibility. And so this conversation has to be, as Member Holder said, grounded in the language of AB 3121. That is absolutely necessary. But also this conversation serves a twofold purpose because, like I said before, this is a conversation where we're taking a straw poll in a sense, where we're getting a feel of, where each task force member is coming from regarding this issue to track it and see if anything changes as the task force business develops. So I also wanted to just clarify why I keep saying this is like a straw poll type of conversation.
All right, so you get the point of that. So she made the point that it's broadened to include African Americans more generally.
Meaning anybody from African descent.
No, But you can interpret that two different ways. We'll get into that. So I'm gonna show y'all the next video. All right.
For descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. So that would be considered, Black Americans who can trace their lineage to people who were enslaved on United States soil. Then, over time, if you see the legislative history documents, the title changed, as Lisa Holder correctly states, so the task force was changed to say, this is the task force to develop and study reparations proposals for African Americans more broadly and generally, with special consideration for persons who are descended of slaves in the United States. So, again, like Lisa Holder says, there's a worldview that states that, if we go by the new language, or the language as it exists today, there's different interpretations, right? So there's an interpretation that, that would mean reparations for all African Americans with special consideration for Black Americans who descend from child slavery, or, which I think this is something that we could get greater clarity on, maybe from Secretary Weber at a later conversation. But there's been some conversation that language, or the new language, right, reparations for African Americans, relates to descendants of free Black people, with special consideration for descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. So just to, I guess I could say, summarize what I'm saying, with the language as it exists today, there are two interpretations. So one of the interpretations is that reparations would go to all Black people with special consideration for Black Americans who descend from chattel slavery in the United States, or that language was meant to address descendants of free Blacks, which is an interesting interpretation, with the special consideration going to the descendants of folks who were enslaved.
I think it was the latter. She said that's the funny one. That's the one I think it is.
Is the what?
She made the point that the two distinctions are, I can go to it right here. Hold on. She made the point to tell with the, go here. See, California Assembly Bill 3121 established the task force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans with special consideration for African Americans who are descendants of the persons enslaved in the United States. She's saying either that means all Black people should get it, but special consideration for African Americans who are descendants.
Why would all Black people get it?
Hold on. All Black people get it with special consideration for African Americans who come from people that were enslaved in America, or African Americans being Black people who were here back then, but their family wasn't enslaved, freedmen, and the ones who were enslaved. Both African Americans, though, both Black Americans, though. We know all Black Americans in America were not slaves.
Well,
I think it's the second one. The Black people who were here but didn't go through slavery, but did go through Jim Crow, and all that other stuff. See, the other one, she's saying all Black people, but with special consideration for ADOS, FBA, Freedmen, whatever you want to call it. I think it's the second one.
FBA.
Yeah.
That's foundational Black Americans.
Yeah, some people look. I don't care. I don't care what none of them call themselves. ADOS, FBA.
Because when you
Freedmen.
say FBA, there's people who gonna see this and they're gonna say it doesn't mean freedmen.
No, FBA, and then some people call it freedmen.
Oh, I thought you was putting FBA and freedmen as okay. Just clarify what you're saying, because
ADOS, comma,
they will get your ass in the comment section.
ADOS, comma, FBA, comma, freedmen, comma, Negros, Blacks.
I ain't heard of the freedmen one.
I have, but yeah. So I think that the language is African Americans. It doesn't use a different name. Say African Americans with special consideration for African Americans who were descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. I think both of them are the same group, just ones who come from people that was enslaved and ones who come from people that didn't but went through all the other stuff. You think you're trying to include everybody?
Yes, they are. Let's just keep it a buck.
I don't know. I'm gonna assume that ain't how they want to sell it.
We don't want these people as reparation task force people. We want people who are not part of the boule.
Well, this whole question, I think, when you say who is black, it also goes to who is a part of this. You know, like I said, we named the groups that are a part of the push for reparations. Well, who is really a part of it? We know the ADOS, they said you have to have a person who come from slavery. You have to have put down black or African American on a census in the last a decade, or at least once, sometime in your life or something. In order to have all these other things that you have to meet requirements. So then you look at somebody like this. You see here it says cool. He identifies as a Samoan in WWE and was booked that way after Nation Days, was never booked, proclaimed, or titled as first black champion.
True.
And the hardcore wrestling fans don't name him as such as well. Thus, nobody calls him a black champion. Aloha family background angle. Then Dwayne Johnson, this was in 2019, he responded to this dude by saying, "Glad I came across this, and I'll give you guys some context and truth. I identify as exactly what I am, both equally proud, black Samoan. And my friend, let me expand your thoughts a bit here. I transcend race in wrestling, so there is no book that way. Thanks, guys. No, you were booked as this. Same thing as Vin Diesel. That's why y'all was beefing. Who's gonna be the ethically ambiguous?
No,
racially ambiguous.
The Rock was not no ethically ambiguous.
Racially, I meant racially. Sorry.
When you saw him, you thought he was Samoan.
I didn't. I'm telling you,
The man had the tribal marks all over
That didn't
him.
mean nothing. A lot of niggas get that tattoo.
Who?
I thought he was just somebody from a different country. Like he was a black dude from a different country. That's me. Why you get frustrated with me when I was little? And I was right. He has got black in him. So I was right and you were wrong growing up then. You said
No, I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong. He identified as Samoan.
Yeah.
He has never
We were
came
both
out.
right.
He has never came out and said he was black until when? He said the N-word.
Yeah, in a movie, people like, what the
And people like, exactly. And people was like, what?
What the fuck?
What did people say?
Yeah, he had to come out. It was like, oh yeah, I forgot he is black. It's like we
didn't forget out. We didn't forget. We didn't say, oh, we forgot he was black. He came out and said he was black. If you're gonna tell the truth, or we not gonna tell the truth?
Look, man, I thought the dude was black growing up. I did. But anyway, this right here goes to, well, in the context of this conversation we're having right now, is he black?
No, he's from Canada.
Okay.
Now, I do believe his father, I'm gonna make myself look.
Yeah, because
his father did, I think his father lineage is from America. I think he's one of those, I think his father lineage comes from those Negros who fought on the British side, and they end up going to Nova Scotia.
There were a lot of black people there. By the way, that's where the black people invented hockey.
Yeah. And I believe The Rock is a descendant of American slavery.
Okay, then.
However,
so in
he
this
has
argument,
never identified
I
as
know.
black.
So in his argument for reparations, would he be a part of it?
Yes, he would be.
Okay.
If I'm right, which I think I read an article saying his father descended, his great grandfather, his grandfather, they came from America. They fought on the British side, and they were promised, went up to Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
So yes, I believe The Rock is American descendant of slavery.
So I'm right then. Thank you. All right, that's good. Now the next person I want to show is Shirley Chisholm. Once again, we're answering the question right now: who is black? I'm gonna show y'all a clip of Shirley Chisholm that I saw, and it kind of shows that she viewed differently. Let me show y'all what she had to say.
When I die, I want to be remembered as a woman who lived in the 20th century and who dared to be a catalyst for change. I don't want to be remembered as the first black woman who went to Congress. And I don't even want to be remembered as the first woman who happened to be black to make a bid for the presidency. I want to be remembered as a woman who fought for change in the 20th century. That's what I want.
So, just like The Rock, she wanted to transcend race, right?
Yep.
She was Jamaican. I'm just saying.
The Rock didn't want to come over here and be identified as a bottom caste, and neither did she.
She did not want to be remembered as a black woman who did this stuff. She wanted to be remembered as a woman. She wanted to transcend race. You know who don't get to try to transcend race?
Black Americans.
All right, anyway, not even going to go into that. All right, this is some of the comments she had about Black Americans. We showed this before. I'm going to show it again. Is it wrong because the accident that my ancestors were brought as slaves to the islands while black mainland natives ancestors were brought as slaves to the states is really not important compared to the common heritage of black brotherhood and unity in the face of oppression that we have? But the feeling is there. One basis for it may be that the islands, slavery was a less destructive experience than it was in the States. Families were not broken up as they were in the South. The abolition of slavery came earlier there and was much less trouble. In the islands, there was never been the same kind of race barriers. There is a class barriers. You see that? Class barriers. I wonder if I look her up, how quick I find out she was also a Marxist. Okay. What is it? But they are not the same. Race lines cut across them. As a result, I think blacks from the islands tend to have less fear of white people and therefore less hatred of them.
I don't fear white people.
They can meet whites as equals. This is harder for American blacks. Okay, who tend to overreact by jumping from feeling that whites are superior to looking down on them as inferior. Both attitudes equally isolate them from the greater society in which eventually we all have to learn to live.
I don't have to learn to live and be around them.
Go along, get along. Ain't that what it is?
Pretty much.
You see that?
I would say something disrespectful to her ass, but I ain't gonna say it. Get that damn yellow wig off your damn head.
Now I want to show Reverend Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton asked the question: should the U.S. study reparations for Black Americans?
Oh, Al Sharpton answering the damn question.
The Louisville, Kentucky mayor and council say yes. By the way, an 80 West dude is on that council.
He done got his reparations. He got straight hair, got it slicked to the back.
There you go. Reverend Al Sharpton, the CIA agent, had to say.
We cover often here on Politics Nation. Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher signed a resolution this week showing support for federal legislation that would study long overdue reparations for Black Americans. The resolution notes that, quote, practices at the federal, state, and local levels effectively kept enslaved people and their descendants in positions of servitude and at an economic disadvantage, and that the federal bill would start the process of addressing those inequities, end of quote. Joining me now is Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher. Now, Mayor Fisher, Congress has been trying to pass reparations legislation since about 1989, but this year was the first time it made it out of committee. What made you and the Louisville Council decide to put your support behind the House legislation, and do you think it has a chance of passing?
Well, good to be with you, Reverend Al. Look, this bill is long past due in terms of being studied here by the Congress. I mean, that's all we're talking about here, is putting a commission together to study the harm that enslaving people.
He literally said, this is nothing.
That's what I got at that. He was like, listen, Al.
It ain't nothing but a study, man.
All we're doing is a study. We're never going to give the...
He says the long overdue bill in terms of studying reparations. That's all this is.
We're never going to give the Negroes anything.
He literally said, we're just studying it, bruh. Chill out.
Don't get your hair all...
Huh?
Don't switch your perm out, Al. We're not going to give them anything.
That thing been split out. It's gone for years.
Descendants of slaves. And I don't think anybody can argue with the fact that the early wealth of this country was built on the back of enslaved people. The wealth gap, the income gap between Black and white Americans is a major source of multiple problems in the country today. So the very least...
Money is always going to be a huge problem. Go ahead.
I'll say what I have to say at the end of the video.
To do is step back and take a look at our history and say, how can we move forward from here? Now, whether it will pass, I think it can get out of the House. But to get 60 votes in the Senate would be tough, but that is no reason why cities all across America should not be pushing their U.S. senators to say it is beyond time to take a look at this and move toward a more just America. And in the process of doing so, it's going to help all Americans, Black Americans, white Americans, and lift our entire country up.
I never understood why reparations was controversial only.
Why you don't know why it's controversial? Come on, man. Let's not be naive. We know we know why it's controversial.
See, I was being fake.
You're asking for a large transfer of wealth.
Let me say this. There is a great pastor on YouTube called Destin Ministries. Pastor
Stephen Darby.
Pastor Stephen Darby. Listen, I don't try to put no man above the Most High, but he was very inspirational, and he is from Louisville, Kentucky.
Yep.
And I can just imagine if he was alive to this day, he just said, "This is the cry." The 400 years, this is the cry that's gonna, which this country is already under plagues and judgment, but we all know that. But can you just imagine if Pastor Derby
was here for this?
Was here.
Rest in peace. What? So with that on that, the next thing we got to talk about is
say it loud. Thinking I'm proud. That's his sister.
Maxine Waters leads push to get justice for Black Native Americans. This title is kind of written weirdly.
It's not written weirdly.
No, because it's not really what she's pushing for. But okay, you see here, Maxine Waters pushing for reparations for Black Native Americans. But what she's really doing. Hold on.
You been searching for the stimulus check?
Nah, a dispute between Black members of indigenous tribes and the federal government is part of our history that is being exposed on Capitol Hill. Congressional woman Maxine Waters is calling out Native American tribes who held Black slaves and continue to discriminate against Black Native Americans. If you remember a few months ago, we did a video on...
About to say that.
We did a video. Go ahead. You can speak on it.
Oh, about, was it the Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Them getting the owning over half of the state.
Yep. They were awarded over half the state because the case happened because a Native American man, I think he assaulted a woman,
and
he went to jail. And he filed, look, I'm not a U.S. citizen. This court can't, you can't come after me.
He got to be prosecuted by
his own court. So this case went all the way up, and they said, wait, he's right. So that means all this has to be awarded. So they ended up giving like half the state of Oklahoma to like 5 tribes. And on those tribes, when you look them up, they had a hand in slavery of Black Americans or Black people.
There was this Native American dude. We put a clip who said, Black Americans don't even want to go there about comparing the atrocities that has happened because we would easily win. And somebody was like, nigga, y'all own slaves.
Yeah, he brought up the Buffalo Soldiers, which is Black people who, in order to gain a freedom in society, basically, they was willing to go after the natives. And I said, wait.
But y'all had already had us in slavery.
That's the point. You already had Black people enslaved.
You probably had your slaves fighting on y'all side of the war for you. What are you talking about?
That wasn't a good argument. But yeah, we talked about that. But now Maxine Waters, she saw they got that land. Maxine said you need to pony up some of that.
Also, Don Cheadle's
family
was not owned by white people.
Owned by Native Americans. Descendants of those enslaved by hands of Native American tribes may get a slice of justice through access to Native American federal subsidies that had previously been denied to them. The California congressman is seeking to get 5 tribes to comply with the 1866 treaty obligations that recognize Black Native American freedmen. You see that? Freedmen? See how that goes back? Freedmen. And the descendants of full citizens of the tribe, therefore making them entitled to all the rights afforded to any other citizen of the tribe. Representative Waters tells the Griot, isn't that owned by
Byron Allen?
Byron Allen, yeah. That the Cherokee had 2,500 slaves, 15% of the total population, and Chickasaw had 2,300 slaves, 14% of the total population. The Creek had 1,500 slaves, 10% of the total population, and the Chickasaw had 975 slaves, 18% of the population, and the Seminole had 200, 300 slaves. Now the Seminoles are a strange one because they were actually bringing black people in and integrating with them. So I don't know if that slavery is the same. I'm not sure. It might be, but we know the Seminoles also had to leave Florida and ended up in Mexico. Some of them with black people. So I don't know if the Seminoles are black. We know. So I don't know if that slavery was the same, but maybe it was. Much of the dispute between black members of the indigenous tribes and the federal government is part of the history of it now being exposed on Capitol Hill. Tulsa rose to national notoriety this year as the nation commemorated a century-old massacre that destroyed 40 blocks of black wealth, commonly known as Black Wall Street. But now Waters is leading efforts to get descendants of black enslaved people on the Native American reservations across Oklahoma and western states their due. The chairman of House Financial Services Committee, Democrats, have been fighting for the treaty rights of freedmen descendants since at least 2008. That's why I use that word, freedmen. Okay. Many of those tribes forced their enslaved along the famous Trail of Tears.
And I personally believe the Trails of Tears are blacks. They were not Native Americans.
Probably that carried the Native Americans west and helped establish the roots of the black population of Greenwood. Much of the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma was also built from the treaties between the United States government and tribes.
How you on a Trail of Tears and you got slaves? Y'all fucking ride on a horse and you got the slaves carrying all your shit.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
And when we talk about reparations,
I wasn't supposed to be cussing this video. Damn.
Yeah, at this point you just rock. When we talk about reparations, though, or any black struggle, the first thing you'll notice that a lot of people who are against it will bring up Dr. Martin Luther King. About judging the people on their character, not their race, and all that other stuff. And number one,
little black boys will hold hands with.
The number one speech they give him is his "I Have a Dream" speech, but they always use this part right here. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama with his vicious racist, with the governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day, right down in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. That's what they remember. What they don't remember is this part.
The check.
We refuse to believe that there is insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of our nation. And so we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice.
What was it?
We want our check.
What was the one thing that was bitch said when anyone started?
Cut the check. Remember
when we got to give it who that go to.
What?
That goes to what's his name? Black Authority.
Yeah, Black Authority.
Cut the check. That was Black Authority.
Now,
give the man his credit.
Remember also when they keep bringing up Martin Luther King, they bring up certain speeches, but they never bring up the burning house speech.
No.
Where he said, I feel like I led my people to a burning house. And then he said,
that's what Marxists do.
And then he said, we coming to get our check. He said, next time we march on Washington, we ain't coming, how you said? We're not coming for something. We coming for a check.
Next thing you know, Dr. King has been assassinated.
Yeah.
It's not funny. We're not left into that.
It's just, it's crazy how we know what happened and we can't do nothing. So laughing is just a damn mechanism to get over the shit, because if you didn't laugh, you would go crazy. You would want to commit some crime.
Let me tell you something. When you walk around and you have knowledge and knowing, you walk around irritated and angry.
Yeah, when you see crazy shit going on. But it's not even just, that's everything. You just get annoyed very easily when you know you're being lied. It's like when you know you're being lied to, you get more angry with a person that lied to you and you know they lying, and they know they lying because they think you're stupid.
Just enraged all day long.
Yeah. And it comes to another question. The final question on this topic. Should Black Americans champion immigration? I'm not going to read the article. I'm just using that title as a question.
Well, it's hard. Well, let me tell you something. It's hard for you to champion other people to migrate to a country where you already feel like you're on the bottom and you don't know if these people are going to come in here and be your allies. And what we've read and what history tells us, they're not. So why would you champion? Not all of them. Hold on. Not all.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. A lot of these, you know what? When when these Caribbean people be saying how they created stuff and started stuff,
They did.
they're not lying. They were brought here, Boule.
Yeah.
They started that shit. They were brought here to disrupt stuff that Black Americans had going on and to pretty much take over and change what the white people wanted them to do. But that's besides the point. So the point is, no, you shouldn't champion.
I don't think you speak against it either. When we say immigration, we mean black immigration, by the way.
I mean all immigration.
Well, I don't give a damn about no Mexicans and stuff.
I do give a damn. I want the ass. I'm not gonna say that. Well, why not? Why can't I say it? Hell no. Why would I champion for them to be here?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not champion. I don't care about them. I'm talking about the black immigrants. I'm not gonna root against them. I'm not. I can't do it. I can't do it. But on to another note, let's jump to this right quick.
What'd you call her?
The new Tamika Mallory.
You said Tamika Mallory 2.5?
2.0.
2.0.
Activist Brittany Packnick Cunningham creates rich lists.
I've never heard of her before.
Redefine what wealth means. So she got a deal with whiskey, Scotch.
Oh, she didn't get the Cadillac deal.
She got a deal with a liquor company. Tamika Mallory went to the Cadillac. So one went to Cadillac and one went to liquor.
On every store in the hood.
Just jipping people. And people keep falling for it. So I'm not gonna read all this. I just want to the way these people use activism for opportunity to get money is crazy how they keep doing it. What comes to mind when you hear the word rich? For Brittany Cunningham, the definition looks very different than most others. An award-winning activist said, how are you an award-winning activist? How do activists win awards? Aren't activists supposed to be against the system? You don't win awards when you're a real activist. The system hates you.
Well, you don't win awards, but sometimes you get what is it called?
What is that nothing. There's nothing you get.
What is it called?
What?
That award?
There's no award for real activism. Real activists like Darren Seal get shot in the street, get shot in his car and burned up.
Oh damn, dude.
That's a real activist. When you're a real activist against a system,
or Malcolm X,
hell, even Martin Luther King, you get killed. You don't get awards. Can you imagine them giving Dr. King won the
Nobel Peace Prize? Yeah, right? That's what I was trying to say. That's an award,
but that's not. Hell, I can make an argument, but I ain't gonna do that right now.
Go ahead and say it.
I ain't gonna do that
scared?
Right now. Who all won the Nobel Peace Prize?
Didn't Gandhi?
He was racist as hell.
He was racist towards who?
Africans, blacks. Yep. And then Martin Luther King, they credit Gandhi with Martin Luther King copying his idea of peace over violence.
What's the guy from South Africa? Didn't he win the Nobel?
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
But you you cut me again. You can win a Nobel Peace Prize as an activist, even though, like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it.
Damn,
but
his wife had to take it. Leave it alone.
See, but you don't win no awards from no award shows and get all type of publicity written in favor of you when you were really against the system. In actual time, Martin Luther King was hated.
You get taken out.
In actual time, Malcolm X was hated. Muhammad Ali, when he was talking that shit, he was hated. You don't get in the middle of talking the shit, you don't get love.
No.
The reason why they gave Martin Luther King a Nobel Peace Prize, because he taught black people, well, he really didn't, but he was, it was interpreted that he was telling black people to take ass whoopings and not fight back, which he kind of did, and they went out there in the streets and let dogs attack them and police beat on them, went into these sit-ins and let these white people spit on them and stuff.
They didn't spit, they spat on them.
Yeah. Malcolm X didn't. Malcolm X said, man, get you a gun. All right, we know what Malcolm X said. He didn't get no prize for what he did. So that's my point. But anyway, wealth, Packard Cunningham begins.
Malcolm X's mother was, what?
Grenadian.
Grenada. Same thing as that,
the Pan-African dude?
No. Amanda Seal. She's the same thing as Malcolm X.
But his father.
Her father's African-American too.
I know. Their father's African.
But damn, she on the other side of the coin.
Baby, the seed. But anyway, we're conditioned to think it's dollars when it's really personal connection. Others think it's followers, but deep down, we know it's purpose. The world chases accolades, but courage resides in those who do not. So did she just come out and say, hey, man, it's not about money, while using her activism to make money? Did she not just see what happened
I
with
mean,
black
I don't really understand why an activist would want to have an endorsement with a
liquor company?
liquor company.
We know why, because she wants
Most
money.
activists, like if you, I'm gonna give you an example. If you're an activist and you're a vegan, it would make sense for you to go with a like anti-fur. That means you don't want animals to be harmed, so you wouldn't be endorsed by that. But being endorsed by a liquor company, that's like,
hold on. See, that goes into the thing that Tamika Mallory and all these Black Lives Matter, when they cashed out on their money, they took their money and ran. They said, "Oh, why do we push the narrative that activists can't have money, can't have wealth, have to be poor?" It's like, because if you're a real activist, no one ain't want to give you no money. They want you to shut up. The only money you should get is from the people that you are backing.
or
That's called a grassroots movement.
Or starting your own business, and then people support you with the
grassroots
business.
movement.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be endorsed by no big.
How you gonna get? How is a billionaire
Like PETA? It would be like if you're a vegan person and PETA endorses you. That's vegan. That's like, that makes sense. But
Yeah. A liquor company,
a Cadillac company.
Come on, man. Get your money, man. Get your money, man. It's your birthday. All right. Hold on. All right. Let's talk about these shortages going on right now.
There's a lot of shortage going on. I'm speaking from experience.
We're gonna let you get into it. This is gonna be a rant.
No, I don't think I'm a. They don't want to hear. I was gonna do a rant, but they don't want to hear the rant this week.
Why?
I ain't gonna do it.
They don't want to hear this one.
This one would have been pretty bad. I'm not gonna do
Who
it.
you gonna rant against? Just tell what the topic was gonna be.
The rant was just gonna be life in general. So I'm not even gonna. I'm not even gonna go into the rant this week.
All right, so we'll save that for.
We'll save it for another time.
Next week. All right. Okay.
Sometimes you gotta process stuff.
Oh, you gotta have your mind on it for a little while.
Sometimes you just start throwing flames and shooting shit, and then you realize
I didn't mean to say that. I didn't want to say that.
I didn't mean to say that. I didn't want to say that, or I read something, I took something the wrong way. So you gotta analyze things before you.
Yeah. All right.
Speak on stuff.
Frustrated shoppers share photos of bare aisles in stores across the country, and empty shelves trends on Twitter as Biden administration responds to the supply chain crisis is slammed as too little, too late.
Are they deliberately leaving the stuff in the ocean so it'll look like we're in a shortage to scare the people? Because supposedly that's where all the stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah.
There actually is no shortage. The stuff is here. They just claim they don't have workers.
Yeah, right here you see nearly 80,000 shipping containers are piled high in the port of Savannah, as reports say, as the supply chain crisis shows no sign of stopping.
Question. If you have no workers and there is a crisis right now, you utilize the National Guard for everything else. Why don't you just send the National Guard there to unload the stuff? Use the federal workers.
Well, the problem is they need drivers.
They
got enough. They need drivers to load the stuff to take it places.
So then you got to use who you got to use to get the job done.
You can't just have a person just driving around who not licensed.
These people are licensed. They're looking for
drivers. Licensed. No, that's a whole different license. By the way,
I'm pretty sure the National Guard has a, what is it called, a CPL? I'm pretty sure they have those licenses to drive those type of trucks.
Maybe they do.
Look
But
at
by the way, to all y'all out there, black people out there who want to be a truck driver, you know they're paying upward of $100K. So if you can get the license, you can get
and be vaccinated.
Then that's the other part of it. If you
there
can
you
get the
go.
credentials,
Told you we can't have you.
if you can get the credentials, you can make 6 figures. Truck drivers are now making 6 figures.
At what cost?
Whatever you're willing to give up. But anyway.
Then your ass go do it then. You go get your license, be a truck driver, and you have to do what you got to do. Trying to put that shit off on other black people. Rotten, wicked.
Oh, now I'm wicked. All right, hold on. Let me. All right. So let me just show y'all this next clip.
But yeah, I'm just saying, if it's that bad, somebody got to go out there and get this stuff.
They're letting it sit there. Let me show y'all.
Hell, you use the prisoners for everything else.
They don't have a damn license. You can
get them a damn license.
Well, if you're gonna get them a license, you might want to capitulate to what the truck drivers want right now. But hold on, Let me just show them this clip.
Well, what are the truck drivers wanting right now?
Well, if you see these owls right here,
damn,
yeah, they look a little bare.
Yeah, and what they do is
they slice.
I was just say what it is.
They'll slice up to the front, or they'll put empty bottles in place so they look full. Look at this. Look at this. Empty. You know how much money these companies are losing out on?
They're trying to bankrupt the country.
So on the East Coast, you got 80,000 shipping containers just sitting there because they need somebody to come unload it. What's even worse on the West Coast in Long Beach, California. Let me show y'all this. Hold on. Look at these shelves though, man. This is Target. Have you ever seen this?
Never.
You never seen this bad?
Even when there was an outrage over the damn toilet paper and paper towels.
It was just toilet paper missing. Now it's,
we know, listen, it's nasty, it's disgusting. We all can agree to it. But hell, if it come down to it, one is a shit rag, one is a face rag, and one is a body rag.
Let's move on. This is what's going on over on the West Coast. So while 80,000 shipping containers are on the East Coast, this is how many are on the West Coast.
The cargo ships just off of our coast, it feels like they're multiplying by the day. The docks of the ports of LA and Long Beach are having issues. Officials say they could have as many as 500,000 containers waiting there. Frustrated truck drivers say the port needs to speed up the wait times and have more docks ready to offload products so they can keep up with the demand.
500,000 containers?
500,000.
You know how long that would take to even unload this stuff?
That's 500,000 containers on the West Coast. That's not even what's in the water. That's just what's on the dock, on the ports. That's not what all those ships we saw. It's not even counting them yet.
They are. Why can't people see what they're doing? They intentionally doing this.
It's like a self-sabotage at this point. But Biden came to the rescue, didn't he? Biden. Hold on. So Biden to the rescue. So in order to help with this shipping crisis, you see this right here. It says Walmart will extend nighttime working hours to help ease the supply chain of shipping crisis. The White House said this was October 13th. So in order to help with all the backup, they said we're gonna make it 24 hours working. This is help, right? So you would think that might help somewhat, but as you can see, nobody is using it where it's actually needed. California's port 24-hour operation is going unused. So they're supposed to have people working a certain amount of time, but none of the workers want to do it. They still don't have enough.
So the workers don't want to get overtime? Oh no, they don't have enough staff.
They don't have enough staff. They haven't found anybody that's willing to do this. Now this article
is crazy. I'm trying to understand if people are not being required to be vaccinated, because I don't think Walmart is requiring that. Why doesn't anybody want to go work at Walmart? Because I know here the minimum wage is like $15, $16.
Where?
Oh, I'm thinking of Seattle.
Yeah.
No, but it's like $13, $14 outside of
what?
Walmart.
Oh. Isn't it like $20 now?
No, matter of fact, no. And like it is like the areas that we talk about, Rainier, Renton, that's considered. They can make about $15, $16 to $17 now. So why don't they want to? But that's in California. What am I talking about?
Yeah. So they couldn't do it in California. But this goes to a question needs to be asked, right? Where is Pete Buttigieg? He's the Secretary of Transportation. This is literally, he's supposed to handle this.
And it's not just that. Like, if you are a restaurant or a business, it's getting worse. Like, Cisco is the top food distributor. And it took, they couldn't deliver orders this week. It took them 5. No, they don't have enough drivers. Like in this state alone, I think it was, they hired they managed to hire 52 drivers, and as they're getting the drivers in, drivers are quitting, and also the customer service, the Cisco reps are now being forced to be mandated and take the vaccine, and now they're quitting.
Well, see, that's what's happening at the port. The workers in some places like California have to show a vaccination status card to prove their vaccination, or they have to show a test to show they.
You got to pay for
I don't know if they have that option there. I think they just have to show proof of vaccination, but they might still have to show proof of a negative test.
Yeah, even the produce company. I asked the produce person. I was like, "Are you guys?" He said, "Yes, we're being vaccinated." He said, "You have to show the card. If you don't show the card, fired." And he said, "Some of them, they lie and say they're vaccinated, but they say, where's the card? They don't have the card." And I was like, "What, are you gonna get fake cards?" He said, "Maybe."
Yeah, he know he got one probably.
he fake. Yeah, you know what he is. I'm speaking of it.
Yeah. All right, so obviously a lot of those dudes at the ports are like, I'm not doing it. So they ain't got enough people to get the goods into the country. So if there's a backup in America, that means there's a backup in Europe, which means there's a backup in China.
So clearly the reason why we have this crisis with not being able to get our supplies because of the mandate that Biden created. And nobody's going to hold him accountable.
But we'll get to that part. So before we get to that, there's this article by Politico saying, can Pete Buttigieg have it all? Now I want to just read this section about where is Pete Buttigieg? Where is he at?
Didn't he just give birth?
They didn't previously announce it, but Pete Buttigieg's office told West Wing Playbook that the secretary has actually been on paid leave since mid-August to spend time with his husband Chasten and their 2 newborn babies.
Oh, he gave birth to twins?
Who had the kids? Which one of them had the damn kids?
I thought it was Buttigieg who had the kids.
Stop it. For the first 4 weeks, he was mostly offline except for major agency decisions and matters that could not be delegated, said a spokesperson for the Department of Transportation. Well, he has been ramping up activity since then. As he does that, Buttigieg will continue to take some time over the coming weeks to support his husband and take care of his new children.
Okay, so the husband had the kids. He probably had a C-section. That's why it's taking longer for him to heal.
I'm not even going to deal with this right now. But so basically, while this is just going on, Buttigieg is on paternity leave.
Listen, husband just had a C-section. Healing.
We're not doing this.
With them twins.
But that goes to the next topic. That don't make no sense. Biden says private sector COVID vaccine mandate will take effect soon. Did y'all know that the mandate is not active right now? I don't think the mandate is not in effect right now.
But the companies are mandating
But the companies are doing it because Biden said it's coming.
So they're just preparing themselves and getting a head start.
There's no paperwork filed. So that's why you got all these companies saying they're ready. The 20 states saying we got our lawyers ready. We already got the paperwork ready to file a lawsuit. They haven't filed a lawsuit because it's not in effect yet.
Oh, like Texas.
So any private company right now, remember they had that thing where if you have over 100 employees, that's not in effect. And you know why? Because it's not going to be in effect. They're using everything they can to scare you. And when they get enough of you, they'll admit, okay, we can't do this and move on with their day.
OSHA.
It's not in effect. So I wonder, are these drivers at the port who's being told they have to follow the mandate, are they not in effect to actually take it? The company's just doing it?
Or they been told?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Are they just been told by the company, we have to do it? But no.
Like how you see how Southwest went back and said, we're going to extend it to December.
Yeah.
That means they're waiting for Biden to come out and mandate it.
See, you know what happened was they
showed their cars.
Yeah. They said, you bluffing. They played it bluff. Like, you gonna fire us? Okay.
You just show the
For
cars.
one day they just stepped out, and how many flights?
But they blamed it on the weather.
Yeah, if it's the weather, it had nothing to do with.
It was a.
And when I saw that video,
can you imagine people in the airport?
No, it was a video. All the flights had to be it was thousands of people. All those flights had to be redone.
That's why when I made the guy, the Amazing Lucas, he was like, y'all can say that I support them, but if y'all stuck in the airport, you could be like, man, if you don't take that damn
man, get that damn plane. I gotta go. I'm sorry. But
I could have just imagined the airport.
It was chaos.
It was chaos.
There was video on it. It was such chaos.
I can't believe nobody didn't. Can you imagine the what do they call the flight?
The person that give you a ticket.
Give me a ticket.
Yeah.
Can you imagine them being up there and having to deal with the customers keep coming up there?
The passive aggressiveness, the aggressiveness. And the threats of ass whoopings.
Yeah, in the country, there's already an article out like, why is everybody so rude? No, people always being rude.
It's just now.
They're just able to be really who they are because nobody gives a fuck anymore.
People are less, what's the word? Less sociable now.
Yeah, they not fake no more.
Let me show. Oh, we got to go back a second to the Colin Powell situation. Since we're talking about mandates, the former CDC. A former worker at CDC, dude, I think the director at CDC, former, came out and said something that is so crazy. That once again, we're living in the damn
Twilight Zone.
It's crazy. They say this stuff on television, and it just goes away.
They say it, but then they also go back into the whole.
But you should do it.
You should do it.
So let me show you.
So people just.
Let me show you what this man said. That's just insane.
I hear a lot of times people feel it's a rare event that fully vaccinated people may die. I happen to be the senior advisor to Governor Hogan in the state of Maryland. In the last 6 to 8 weeks, more than 40% of the people that died in Maryland were fully vaccinated.
That's a huge chunk.
Listen. The former CDC director, because they have to cut. Listen, he just cut his face despite his notes. They try to cover for Colin Powell dying even though he's fully vaccinated by saying, oh, this is normal, which make it look even crazier. So he just said that 40%. In fact, let me go back. Let me just y'all hear it again. Let him say it.
We don't even need to repeat what he said. Let's let him say it.
40% of the people that died in Maryland were fully vaccinated. So we really do need to get vulnerable people. Currently, those over 65 and those 16 to 65 with comorbidities to get boosted. Hopefully, the FDA and CDC will act.
Why he say over 65?
It's always been the number.
But then he say from 16 to 65 too.
That's two different demographics. So they'll say 5 to 11,
but
12 to 17.
But why separate the demographics when you just say everybody need to get it? That's dumb.
Urgently to expand that to the Moderna vaccinees and of course the J&J vaccine.
Listen, they won't even say the name.
Very sad. We've lost a lot of individuals in this period where their immunity has waned.
Yeah.
And in my view, it was really unnecessary. We could have been more aggressive in getting our recommendations to get booster vaccines.
It's an important reminder.
So they use this to push the vaccine, and I'm gonna show y'all another video right after. I'm gonna show you another video because these you look on television. If you still watch mainstream television, I don't know why you do, and you'll see them everywhere you go. You see the same thing popping up, the same language being used when they talk about these topics, and then
it's just recycled language.
If you pay attention to the intro to all these TV shows and programmings, you'll notice the same name popping up. Why they say the things they say, why they continually push these things. While this man just said that 40% of the people who are fully vaccinated, 40% of people who died in Maryland of COVID were fully vaccinated. And then he turned around and said, you need a booster. Let me show you why he said that.
Is brought to you by Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer. Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer. On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
What the fuck Pfizer got to do with the American sugars?
Do you see how crazy this is? How much? Do you know how much money?
Pfizer is
money they paid to have all those commercials. They paid hundreds of millions of dollars to make billions. They're on pace to make what, 30 billion this year, something like that. I've already made 30 billion. There's so much money being made and
generated.
Like, you're not going to hear anything different from mainstream. Sorry, you're just not. So, another story coming up is Hunter Biden's laptop. We spoke on this a while ago, and the
matter of this was going on last year around this time.
Yeah. So we talked about this last year somewhat. We couldn't talk about it too much because Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube were taking down anything you talk about that laptop. And I read the stuff on the laptop. I read it.
It's very ironic that this is being talked around the same time as it was last year, when it should have been. This should have been exposed last year, right during the presidential campaign. But it was hushed. You remember? You know how they always say that Biden went into his bunker, and disappeared until the shit calmed down.
Yeah, this story disappeared.
Even Tucker Carlson
had the story and it went away from it. Even the right wingers wouldn't talk about it.
Tucker Carlson said he was not going to talk about it, and how he was
friends.
Hunter Biden used to be his next door neighbor or something. He was saying
he's a good friend. He's a good man.
Wow.
So I read the stuff on the it's really not a laptop. It's hard drives that they found. Basically, he admitted that he was taking money from foreign governments and institutions with influence from his father. That's called influence peddling. That is illegal. In the emails, he would constantly refer to somebody as the big guy,
Joe,
as the person who needs the money. That was Joe Biden.
Joe Biden always needed money.
On the laptop, he had pictures and videos with prostitutes, him doing cocaine, crack, all kind of stuff.
No,
right?
when Joe Biden would say, "Who's gonna pay Dad's bills?"
Yeah, the dude in the email asked him, "Who's gonna pay whose bills?" You
the big guy, Joe.
So you see this? You see this right here? This is crazy. It said Joe Biden could become embroiled in the FBI's probe into Hunter's finances. Experts say emails revealed they shared bank accounts, paid each other's bills, and the president may have even funded his son's 2018 drug and prostitution binge. And that's light. They did not tell you what's actually the real stuff that's in there. The fact that they have found that Hunter Biden has proved to have connections to Russian oligarchs who just in the last week have had FBI agents kicking his dough. We don't know if that is coinciding with the emails finally being talked about, or if that's just random. It more than likely ain't random.
Trump was the Russia.
But Biden is the one who has Hunter Biden, which means Biden as well, has connections to Russia, China, and Ukraine.
Russia, Rachel Maddow. God damn, Lord. I can't stand her ass.
So I don't even need to read the article. They just gonna go at this from the point of just saying, oh, he might have possibly shared some money and the tax situations might come back to Joe Biden. No, he was the big guy. He was the one who was running the stuff. They was using his influence in order to get money.
Yeah,
and Joe Biden was making him give half of the proceeds.
Yep. As soon as Joe Biden became vice president, he got his son a hookup.
Yeah, and then now that he's president, they really mad because they can't make money off of this because they got too many people watching him.
Yeah, because he made an oath that he would not use his presidency to
influence peddle.
But you did it when you was the vice president.
Hiding the ball. Hunter Biden complicates White House anti-corruption push. So they're trying to make sure they separate Hunter Biden from Joe Biden. If this was Donald Trump Jr., they would say the Trump administration, Trump house, the Trump family. No, it's the Biden family. By the way, quick story. If I'm not mistaken, y'all know how Joe Biden met his wife?
So you just gonna put that man business out there?
I'm just saying, there was a car accident that killed his ex-wife. That's how his first wife died. She died in a car accident. Jill Biden is the husband of the man who died in that same crash. Yeah, it's weird. Hunter Biden was dating his dead brother's wife, and now Hunter Biden is selling paintings, crack paintings that he paint while on crack for hundreds.
He gets inspired.
Millions of dollars. Oh, it's anonymous, so we don't know who's giving him the money for these paintings. He sucks at.
He only smokes the crack just to get.
To get
inspired, inspiration. The crack is his muse.
The crack is his inspiration. Yeah, now he's selling paintings for millions of dollars. He's not a painter.
Yeah,
he's a crackhead.
That's why people, relatives that they do that. It's just inspiration for them. It's a muse.
Oh yeah. So when my uncle smoked crack, they're doing that for inspirations. He was a carpenter, so he did it to get inspiration.
It's his muse.
Yeah. Okay. He's now tonight. He's crazy.
To what some are calling a blazing alarm to change our relationship with water. The 40 million.
Pause, damn it, damn. All right. I think that's
Damn, she had this been up since October 6th and it ain't cracked $1 million yet.
Niggas don't care. All right, so with that,
Henrietta.
The reason why we talk about them bringing up the Hunter Biden laptop, a story they do not want to be out there. We see Pete Buttigieg just absolutely ridiculously, not even at work, in the middle of a damn supply chain blockage. We see Kamala Harris, who at one point was taking calls from foreign governments. Now she's, while they on these important trips to Australia and China, she's in schools taking photo ops and videos with children. So why is Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg seemingly not taking their job serious? While at the same time, they're now talking about a laptop that I saw with my own two eyes. Oh, no, sorry, information.
You saw the laptop with your own two eyes?
I didn't see. I knew you.
You got flued out.
I didn't see the laptop. I saw the information that came from the laptop.
Damn, y'all, he be on some Inspector Gadget shit.
Emails. I saw some of the pictures. It's all blurred.
You didn't tell me that he came and picked you up and.
Yeah, okay.
You laptop.
You're gonna keep going, huh? But the point I'm making is, I know what's on there. They did not want this out. So, is it possible? Another thing we got to talk about, this last thing right here. Biden's health mentally, which has been a topic of discussion for anybody who pay attention for the last 3 years, 2 years really.
Biden's fine.
Let me show y'all this video right here.
How much longer can US President Joe Biden go on? Because he's now, without doubt, in serious mental decline. This is from a speech to union bosses just last week.
And Don Finn, IBEW, and Robert Reiter, R-E-I-T-E-R, Reader. You know, if I can digress for just a second, last night I was on the television. I was on the telephone, you know. At any rate, also we've got state leadership here, Lieutenant Governor Julius here, Stratton, and Pennsylvania. I'm from Pennsylvania. The Illinois president of the Don Harmon, State Senator Laura Murphy, State Rep Martin Moylan, and we got great labor leaders here too.
But since then, Harris has visited the Mexican president just once to discuss this, and eventually, when she was shamed into it, visited the border too, but just once. And again, that nervous laugh whenever she's asked if she'll go again.
Plans to visit the border? Not today, but I have before, and I'm sure I will again.
And here's a sign of how far Harris will run from a problem. Last Friday, Biden had top officials go to Mexico City to discuss this border crisis with Mexico. It's a top team, the Secretary of State, the Homeland Security Secretary, and the Attorney General. But no Kamala Harris, the border tsar. She was instead out playing with children back home to soften her image.
What number? Comes after 7. Comes.
What comes after 7?
Comes 8. Yeah.
Yeah, look, Andrew, I mean, this is a discussion that it does fall down party lines in the US, that it's really Republicans who say, look, we're really concerned about his mental state, and they repeat many of his gaffes. He was known for that before he went into office, but it does seem like there has been continuing issues with that. The Democrats say, look, he has a stutter, we know that, and they say, look, we prefer him to Donald Trump, and so we'd rather this kind of approach than what we had before. But from just an outsider's view looking in, having watched for his first year in office almost, what we're seeing is that there are these repeated issues. I mean, when you've got the president forgetting our prime minister's name at the time of making such a significant announcement, calling him that fella down under, it's hard to think that he really could be that keyed into what exactly he was talking about. At the same time, the Australians who were in that meeting were telling us, no, he's so switched on, he's so sharp, he absolutely knew exactly everything going on. Just all across it. But of course they have to say that. They can't come out and say, look, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
My theory is they're about to throw Biden under the bus in the next year or so, because I don't think he was always just a placeholder. I believe the reason why you see Kamala not really taking this vice president job serious is because she's been promised to be president of the United States. And I think Pete Buttigieg has already been told that he will be vice president of the United States. What do you think?
And we really are under judgment.
If Biden gets caught up either the mental thing or the Hunter Biden laptop thing, either one of them catch him up, he got to go.
If Kamala Harris...
Now, will Kamala choose Pete, or will she choose Stacey Abrams? Will she choose what's the other woman's name?
Amy Klobuchar?
No, the black woman, the one who was supposed to get the vice president over her, the one who people thought would be the favorite to get it, the one who's the NAACP. She's part of Black Caucus, Karen Bass. So it'll be Pete, the gay man, Stacey Abrams, the black woman,
Pete is the gay man.
I said Pete the gay man.
Oh.
Pete the gay man, Stacey Abrams the black woman, or Karen Bass the black woman. That's what I believe. I believe this is the reason why this story is coming up.
Well, if they're going to do it, they better do it now, because they're not going to ever get nobody else in there that's...
Well, I don't think they want to do it right now. I think they're going to wait till after the 2022 midterms. After that, that's when they'll kick it into gear. They're just laying the groundwork right now. They're allowing that story to stay around. They're kind of now that what we watch with Sky News, and they say Sky News be on his ass. They're like a conservative group out of Australia.
They're like the Fox
version.
version.
They're like old Fox. They just they just cut through with it.
They are. I love watching them.
I think they funny. I don't really care about their politics. I just think they funny. But yeah,
the woman and the older dude, they both funny.
Yeah, I think this is just a move to go ahead and lay the groundwork for them moving Biden out and bringing Kamala Harris in.
Yeah.
People predicted this anyway, so I'm not saying nothing new, but I think they're just moving forward with it now. In other news, Henrietta Lacks estate sues drug company that sold her cells. The estate of Henrietta Lacks sued a pharmaceutical company on Monday, accusing it of selling cells that doctors at Johns Hopkins Hospital took in 1951 without her knowledge or consent. The cells taken from Lacks, a black woman who died of cervical cancer, are known as Hella cells and have
Hella cells. That's hella annoying.
Hella cells and have been reproduced ever since, used in scientific and medical innovations, including development of a polio vaccine and gene mapping. This came out. When did this article come out? October 4th. So a little while ago now. We'll see how far.
Get your money.
How long they've been trying to sue for this though? Seems like this is like the 10th time I heard this, and it seems like it just never goes anywhere. Because big pharma, they tough, man. It's hard to get around big pharma, but it is what it is. Damn, you see the story?
Yeah, I was reading that.
Lyft admits it recorded 4,000 sexual assault claims in long-awaited report.
In their own car?
All right, we'll catch that on some other point. God damn.
Well, we know sexual assault is completely defined different today.
But Speaking of pharmaceutical companies, J&J is using a.
They don't even say their name no more, do they? They don't say Johnson & Johnson. They just say J&J.
Johnson & Johnson is using a bankruptcy maneuver to block lawsuits over baby powder cancer claims.
Now people
alleging they got cancer from the baby powder.
And I used to use like little.
Johnson & Johnson is driving criticism as using a controversial bankruptcy maneuver to block roughly 38,000 lawsuits linked to claims that the baby powder has contaminated with cancer-causing asbestos.
So they discontinued selling baby powder in Canada, United States.
Yeah.
So Europe and all the other countries, South America, they still getting baby powder.
So what they did was they started a fake shell company in Texas, put all the liability on that company, and then filed for bankruptcy.
They filed for bankruptcy in Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Is this where the company from?
What, who?
Johnson & Johnson is based in North Carolina?
I don't know. LTL filed for bankruptcy this week in a federal court in Charlotte, North Carolina, a move designed to sharply limit efforts to recover damages for those who say they were harmed by J&J's baby powder. Johnson & Johnson doesn't have liability anymore. They pushed all of it into the company they created just to file for bankruptcy, said Lindsay Salmon, a bankruptcy expert on the University of Georgia School of Law. As a result, consumers can't cover damages because a big solvent company they have to recover because of this smaller fictional company created. And this is legal.
No, they based in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
But this is legal. They literally created a fake company, put all the liability with that company, and then filed for bankruptcy with it.
Wicked. Smart. Wicked.
But these same people, all right.
My uncle received the Johnson & Johnson vaccination, and thus far he's been okay.
Yeah. So Johnson & Johnson, worth $400 billion, created a shell company in Texas to hold all the liability for their baby powder, then filed for bankruptcy with the shell company. This is legal because corporations write our laws. 38,000 women will go without settlement. You sure all of them women?
So only women came out.
Statement. Maybe it is, but that's kind of a
How's
statement.
it just women?
Yeah, I don't know if that's just women.
Men put on baby powder. They put baby powder on babies that are boys. What's going on?
It's called baby. Maybe the claim is filed by the, I don't know.
Well, you know that women be putting it on to keep their breasts from sweating.
Yeah. All right, hold on. I'm gonna show y'all this next one. I gotta steal it first. So they like to put stuff behind paywalls. So got something for that. All right, here we go. You see here, Black creators sue YouTube. Yeah, we calling your ass out, alleging racial discrimination. Algorithm systematically removes their content or limits how much it can earn from advertising, they allege.
Is she the person suing?
Stephanie Fraud says YouTube official told her in 2017 that the company's content moderation algorithm discriminated based on race. No, I don't think I don't know. Maybe she is. A group of Black YouTube creators filed suit against the company this week. Now, this was in June 18, 2020, alleging that the platform had been systematically removing their content without explanation. The suit filed in federal court in Northern California outlines alleged discrimination against for creators who post YouTube videos to earn advertising revenue. YouTube is part of a tech giant, Google. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. How do y'all think that went for them? That sued. Let me tell you something. I can go into detail how we've been fucked with.
I don't even. It's ridiculous.
But look at this. Yeah. So they sued. That was last year. This year, Google beats YouTube users.
Of course they beat them.
Alleging racial discrimination. Google LLC avoided claims that its video platform YouTube discriminates against Black and minority content creators by restricting views and monetization of certain videos based on race when federal judge in California dismissed the lawsuit Friday. Let me ask you a question. There's this thing we do in our community, in our culture, called battle rap. Pretty sure y'all know what battle rap is. You got URL, RBE, and all that stuff. You know those videos can't be monetized because there's cursing and stuff in it. Even though, because there's cursing, there's threats, quote unquote, is image. It's not image wise, but it's, they have certain things in their rapping that can be considered violent. Is that racial discrimination? Because you know this is not, and there's no violence going on. It's just a form of art.
Listen,
is that racial discrimination?
Charleston White had his YouTube page took down because he used the N-word. And there's a black dude that had Asians on his platform letting them say all sorts of remarks, and his page was not taken down.
So a black man lost his channel because he responded to an Asian man calling him a nigga.
But there's no discrimination, and then Asians get put into the minority category.
So
this is the world we live in.
So I think they could have won that case if they were never gonna win it because they ain't got the bread to fight them.
But the fact is, they stood up for it and they filed the damn lawsuit. Give them credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Even though you weren't gonna win from the beginning, you got to build your own damn website.
All right, last story here. You might be tired of hearing us talk now. You see here? Here? Oh, sorry about that. Suddy. Mistake made by court could lead to mistrial in Ahmaud Arbery case.
We're shocked.
Now, didn't they prove that the caller, the woman who was a part of the case, not the caller, I'm sorry, but the woman who was a part of getting them off, turned out to actually work for the police department? Oh, sorry, used to be a employee of hers. She used to be employed by them. They had some type of relationship.
Damn.
In this May,
it really is based on who you know, huh?
In this May 17, 2020 photo, a recently painted mural of Ahmaud Arbery is on display in Brunswick, GA. The 25-year-old man has been shot and killed in February. We know. And any other potential jurors see the suppressed evidence they could have tossed in the jury pool. The Georgia County Court, where the 3 alleged murderers of Ahmaud Arbery are on trial, mistakenly exposed potential jurors to suppress evidence, including the 25-year-old black jogger's mental health history, which a judge banned from the trial.
What does his mental health history have to do with him being shot?
So they accidentally showed this to them. Okay.
Accidentally show what?
His mental health history.
What does his mental health history have to do with him jogging?
But they're not supposed to get the information. It's suppressed information. It's suppressed evidence. It's not supposed to mean anything. But if you show somebody something like that, it might influence them. It shouldn't, I know, but some people it will. If any of the potential jurors see the suppressed evidence, they could be tossed in the jury pool. The evidence of the court's website also included how many times defendants Greg and Travis McMichael used their firearms, as well as the Confederate flag vanity plate on the back of Travis McMichael's truck. We are aware of that issue, and the decision about that will be made by the judge. If a jury candidate were to read the information, it would disqualify them from the sitting on the jury. If the person still somehow was chosen for the jury, it could be a grounds for a mistrial. So out of 1,000 people, 1,000 possible jurors, 600 showed up. So we'll see if they find a way to get it out of this. But I think they already get. Can they really get out of this? We literally saw it on video. You chase a man down, put your gun on him, then shoot him.
Looks like they trying to get something stirred up during the wintertime.
Oh, they want another argument. They want another.
They love to have black people in uproar and outrage.
We'll see. But I think that's the last story on this. We talked long enough. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'll make sure I get this edited right. You got anything else you want to say?
Nope. Have a blessed week.
Have a blessed week. But anyway, man,
blessed weekend.
But anyway, man, y'all be safe. All praise to the Most High. And peace, man.